Happy Hump Day, everybody. Welcome to the Sean O'Connell Show. ESPN 792.1 FM. Glad to be with you, as is always the case. As we march closer and closer to a Utah football season and football camp opening shortly. World Cup soccer being played today. We will have the second of two semifinal contests. This one, Argentina-England. Winner moves on to face Spain, who first half of the game was played during our show yesterday. The second half, of course, concluded things 2-0. Spain blanks France and advances to a World Cup final. We'll find out if it's Argentina or England later today who will face the Spanish squad for the incredible honor of being World Cup champions. We're going to dive into the importance of this rivalry a little bit, the context of rivalries in general. This one is very unique, very interesting, and sent me down several different rabbit holes last night on the old internet. Our guy James Peterson is back after his treks and travails in Alaska. James Peterson brought back a box of fish, a couple of scars, a brand new face tattoo. All right, maybe not all that.
As you can see on YouTube, of course, all of that. No, if you're nice to me, OC, maybe I'll share some of the halibut that we caught.
Okay,
Yeah,
well.
some of the Alaskan halibut.
What if I wanted the salmon?
Not enough of the salmon to share, unfortunately. At least while I was there, they'll probably catch a little bit more salmon. There, a bunch of the group I went with is going to be out there for a few more days.
Okay.
But while I was there,
you came home early because you missed.
I missed you. Yeah,
you missed us.
I missed our listeners.
I was going to say you missed your lovely wife and your young son, and you realized that spending 10 days away from them was probably not advisable. Maybe.
Yeah, them too, of course. But since we're on the air here, I'm going to say I miss you.
Okay.
Off air, there's probably a different story.
Yeah.
No, a lot of fun. I was telling you off air some of the things we saw. Saw a bunch of whales, which I hadn't seen whales in person ever before. So
cool.
That was like the coolest thing for me.
Yeah.
And yeah,
all of us
trees everywhere in Alaska. By the way, the forests are like. We don't have forests here, is what I learned. Like the Alaskan forests are the real forests that we have.
Just the density and vastness of them is hard to comprehend.
We saw trees growing out of like old abandoned like barges. Like they just grow everywhere there. It's incredible. It's just incredible beauty. If you ever anyone listening, if you ever get a chance to go up to Alaska, it really is a once in a lifetime opportunity. We were by Juneau, so southwestern, right up above British Columbia, Yeah. So in the winters, I hear a lot more temperate because you're right up next to the ocean. It's not what you picture when you think of Alaska, at least in the winters. There's still a lot of snow from what I hear, but a lot more temperate, and I think probably a lot warmer even this time of year than if you go by Anchorage or something. So it was a good time.
Did you see my parents? Because my parents are up there right now.
Are
also.
They? Glacier Bay?
Now you've never met my parents, so you wouldn't be able to identify them.
But I now know what you look like, and your brother Patrick's been visiting. I know what both of you look like, so I think I could piece together. Oh, those are O'Connells.
Yes, you could probably figure it out. If you saw my dad, you could figure it out. Right? Yeah. So why didn't you find them while you're up there?
I'm sorry. Were they by Juneau?
They're on a cruise. So like 1 or 2 of the days they were by Juneau.
We saw like cruise ships off in the distance.
Okay, so you did see my parents.
We probably did. We tried waving.
Okay.
Probably a little too far away to see us wave, or everyone on the cruise ship was just really rude.
I'm gonna text my mom and ask her why she didn't wave back. That's very rude.
There was one time on Monday, the last day I was out on the water, that we got as close as we as close as we probably could get to a cruise ship. So people might have saw us. They just didn't wave back. They're just rude people.
Wow, incredible.
And I don't know if those are your parents, but whoever was on that boat.
Typically, they're quite polite, so I'd be surprised.
So it's probably not them. They probably did wave back. We just didn't see.
Maybe you just didn't see it, so maybe you're the problem.
Yeah,
here.
maybe but we did the waving at first, so we're fine.
Okay,
we're covered.
We're glad to have you back. Zach did a good job holding it down while you were gone.
That's great. Shout out to Zach.
Really
appreciate the work he did then.
But we're glad to have you back, and we're marching closer, as I said, to this college football season. We went over some of the schedule stuff and some of the over-under win totals that I think are heavily related to the schedule. We will continue to dive into Utah football as we prepare for camp to open in a season that is one of the most fascinating seasons we have watched, at least closely, since, I guess I was a student at the University of Utah. There's some years where it's been like, all right, I was a student, I was on the team when Kyle Whittingham took the program over, and that was one that was interesting, but Utah football had just barely become what we now call Utah football, right? And then there was, of course, the Sugar Bowl year that had a ton of attention and a ton of eyes on it and was the high water mark for Utah football, certainly in that era and maybe ever. So that was a really fascinating season that I don't think this time of year, 2008, people were probably having the same conversations now or that we are now. They probably weren't even then as optimistic, excited, prepared to go out on a limb and say, hey, this is going to be the best Utah football season in history. That was a great, incredibly talented squad, and obviously they lived up to any hype that preceded them and more. But this is one of the more fascinating years. The same thing with the Pac-12 transition, right? Going into the Pac-12 and figuring out where you were going to stand there was a source of much trepidation and excitement really for several years for Utah. And obviously it's ramped up since, and the expectation now is that you are a top 25 team, and really people expect better than that. Utah football fans now want to be a top 15, a top 10 team every single year, a conference championship caliber team every single year. And whether or not that is realistic or possible this season, we will start to find out really week one, but not potentially. We had the conversation with JT Wisterso yesterday, not potentially until your season is half over, because your schedule is kind of soft at the front, at least relative to our expectations, but we never know what we're talking about. So we'll be diving further into that. Today, in about 20 minutes, we're going to have Jason Kreis on, talk a little World Cup, talk a little RSL versus Burnley FC. That's happening tonight at America First Field. J.J. Watt involved in the ownership team. Dave Checketts involved in the ownership team. And obviously he's got an incredible amount of history with RSL. And let's be honest, this is why a matchup like this comes together. It's the first time since late May that the RSL squad has been back together. I'm curious to know if Diego Luna and Gozo and company are playing with a chip on their shoulder, especially those two individuals, especially Diego, because of being left out of the U.S. men's national team selection. There's questions about Mauricio Pochettino and whether or not he's going to be back with that U.S. men's national team squad. I think that most American soccer fans want him to come back. I wonder if you're Diego Luna, whether you want him to come back. Or you're just like, no, man, guy left me out. I could have helped this team. We would have beat Belgium if I would have been there. Which, of course, is a reductive way of saying, like, hey, you could have been better with me than without me. But we'll get into all that with Jason Kreis. I'm also going to ask him a bunch of unfair questions about how to fix American soccer all the way down to the grassroots level, because that conversation continues to persist. If you go to ESPN.com, if you go to Sports Illustrated, you go to The Athletic, there's a lot of stuff, a lot of publication right now, a lot of things you can read, a lot of ideas being floated about the way to strip the system down to the studs potentially and improve how Team USA can keep up with France and Spain. I'll be honest, watching France and Spain yesterday, I was like, man, there's a distance right now that we fail to appreciate because we all get rolled up in this hype machine about, wow, this is so fun, and look what Flo Balogun has done for this team, and Serginho Dest and all these guys. And even if you're being critical of Pulisic, when he's battling back and getting himself on the pitch during the tournament, you're like, all right, this is cool. We can take out Bosnia. And then you realize that the gap between Bosnia and Spain and Bosnia and France and the U.S. in those squads is fairly significant.
Yeah, the rest of the world's like, yeah, cool story, bro. You beat Bosnia and Herzegovina. They won their group too, but it wasn't particularly a hard group.
I mean, Turkey kind of underperformed in group play. Paraguay was, I think, scarier leading up to the tournament because they had beat Argentina, they had beat Brazil,
and they ended up having a really good showing. They knocked Germany out of the round of 32. So Paraguay was a formidable opponent. But other than that, obviously you lose to a talented Turkey A team, but in a game that didn't matter, they were already eliminated. So weren't really tested very much in the group. Now we know that in hindsight. And they run up against a traditional soccer nation and European nation in Belgium with a lot of, aging but legendary players still on their roster, and they got exposed.
Well, and the problem with that matchup is, like, Belgium didn't even really have to go to their greatest strengths. De Bruyne didn't even play. You didn't bring in the way that they used Lukaku through a lot of the tournament, right, is they would bring him in the final 10 minutes and he would change things. That wasn't the deciding factor in USA versus Belgium, but we don't need to relitigate that game. Everyone knows what happened there. I want to talk about this England-Argentina game and in the context of this game with the best rivalries, not only in soccer but in sport. You've heard me say on this show many, many times how important I think rivalries are to sport, certainly professional sports, definitely these international sports. Obviously, college sports rely so heavily on rivalry talk, and you will never be able to convince me that Utah BYU is not the most important sporting event on the calendar every single year. When the Utah Mammoth are 10 years into their existence and we have a definitive answer on who the real rival for this Utah Mammoth squad is, I will say similar things about that. When we get the Utah Cutthroats Major League Baseball team and we decide that team hates the San Francisco Giants or that team hates the Anaheim Angels or whatever, then I will celebrate the rivalry there. And I will try to foment a lot of anger and maybe a couple bench-clearing brawls in a baseball game. Rivalry intensity in sports, especially as we water this thing down to being, it's business, it's business, it's business. Money is all that matters. You have to accept that the money, of course this guy's going to sit out this playoff game. Of course this guy's going to sit out the final regular season game. Of course this guy is going to do some load management because this is all about opportunity to earn, and you got to maximize your potential. And, of course, this kid's going to transfer to Michigan, or, of course, this kid is going to go to USC because they pay more. As we do that, we are blunting the edge of why we really care about sports, right? We are jading ourselves while we jade the whole world becomes jaded toward money being the ultimate driver and the ultimate purpose behind everything. And I'm guilty of this, by the way, on air. I fully acknowledge when I hear about a guy making those financial decisions, I'm like, yeah, of course he would do that because I would do the same thing. And it's not something I'm proud of. It's not something that is good, right? I'm not saying there's virtue in this. I kind of despise the fact that I take the Alexi Lawless stance on some of these things where it's just like, well, yeah, it's a profit business, and as long as you're making profit, then every decision you make is justifiable. I kind of hate that. And I hate that when we're talking about every level of sport. Part of the FIFA reasoning for maybe tipping the scales slightly in the favor of Argentina with certain pathways, maybe slightly, the referees maybe being a little bit more forgiving to star players in all these sports. We justify it. We shrug it off because of what? Well, of course, because if you eliminate Messi and Switzerland is on to these semifinals, nobody's watching. And ratings equal dollars, and dollars equal importance. And we do this over and over and over and over again. And what is the thing that still anchors us to why we love sports in the first place? What is the thing that pulls you back to Little League and pulls you back to playground basketball and pulls you back to your college experience? It is, I don't care how we win. All I care is that we win.
For me, OC, it's ratings and money in billionaires' pockets. That's absolutely what it is for me. It's weird that you take it in such a pure form.
And you know what's wild, James, is that every sports fan, you're not a bad sports fan if you have a great understanding of the fact that everything is profit-driven now. You're an aware sports fan. You're an educated sports fan, right? You're somebody who's just kind of resigned in a lot of ways to, yeah, of course, this is what decisions are made based upon. And there's nothing wrong with knowing that. And there's nothing wrong with accepting that. But I would make an argument that we have collectively been pulled in the wrong direction as sports fans, as sports observers, as sports media, as athletes even. So it's like, all right, man, like there was a time, and there's a bunch of problematic individuals from the early days of sports. Like Babe Ruth was problematic off the field. Karl Malone is incredibly problematic off the court. Michael Jordan, same thing. But one thing that we acknowledge about those guys, Kobe Bryant, you could say the same. One thing that we acknowledge about those guys is that they were just like competitors, right? They wanted to win maybe more than they wanted anything else in life, which is its own pathology. But from a sports perspective, that's kind of what you grow up admiring, thinking is correct. And when you replace that with like, well, as long as he's making enough money, it's why I have spent probably way too much time on this show talking about Jalen Brunson. We're not in New York. I know that they're the NBA champions now, so they're relevant everywhere. But it's why we ranted about Jalen Brunson before they were champions, and why I tripled down on it when they became champions, because he did the thing. He did the outlier thing, and he went back to a time in his own mind and with his own contract where it's like, yes, I know when to say enough is enough. I know when to say I am satisfied with this life-changing outcome, and I will do my best to make sure that I can win on top of this. Victor Wembanyama, quietly, wasn't talked about a ton. Victor Wembanyama decided to exercise a max contract instead of a super max contract. And the fine print there is that, well, both Victor Wembanyama and the Spurs think that this is the best way for them to build a championship roster sustainably around him. And by the way, it looks like they've got that. It looks like they're a little bit ahead of schedule, so they don't have to do anything creative and crazy. It's not, Victor Wembanyama's not going out on the same limb that Jalen Brunson went out on, because he's already got the guys there and he just wants to keep his teammates with him. But the point stands. You understand what I'm getting at here. So all these things that kind of keep us in touch with our love of sports in the first place, rivalries are the most tangible, the most relevant of those. And this Argentina-England rivalry is rooted in some incredibly intricate, deep, nuanced history that the average American sports fan knows very little about. You got to go down a little bit of rabbit hole. It crosses over geopolitical lines with the Falkland Islands War How much did you learn about the Falkland Islands War, James?
This is the first time hearing about it. Yeah.
Okay, the Falkland Islands. You know where the Falkland Islands
I
are
actually
even?
don't.
Okay. See, this is what I'm talking. Like this is an integral part of the rivalry for Argentina-England.
Is it by Argentina?
It is.
Okay.
So the Falkland Islands, it's an archipelago of 778 islands, 2 main islands, but a bunch of, you know how archipelagos look. You were just up near the Aleutian Islands.
Yeah, just a bunch of little rocks.
Yeah, on a map, it just looks like, all right, you drew this, and then there's a bunch of crumbs that came off your pencil.
Yeah.
That's what. So the Falkland Islands are.
You know what? Those are islands. We can't erase them. It'll ruin the map. Those are islands.
Yeah, no one, like when you look at Thailand, when you look at the Philippines, when you look at Papua New Guinea, when you look at like all of Southeast Asia on a map or whatever, no way I'm ever verifying that those are in fact really there, right? The map makers could have fooled us. Well, the Falkland Islands are these like isolated little archipelagos off the coast of Argentina, and they are British sovereign territory. You're getting a geography lesson today while we're talking a little World Cup soccer. They're a British sovereign territory during the British colonial period, early 1800s, after, Argentina had claimed these islands and Spain had claimed these islands and all these other, the indigenous peoples of the area had at some point landed on them and used, the seabirds and whatever else. The English are just like, these are ours. 300 miles east of Patagonia, 8,000 miles away from London. And the British are like, the Falkland Islands are ours. And that was 1800s all the way through the 1900s, up into the 1980s, James, when Argentina was just like, no, we're taking these back.
And so this colored the 86 World Cup then.
Absolutely, it did.
You're about to build up to Diego Maradona in that match, right?
Correct. So in 1982, so before I was born, long before James was born, for 74 days, Argentina invaded the islands, which, by the way, are called in Argentina, they're not called the Falkland Islands, they're called Las Malvinas, because, of course, why would you adopt the British name for islands that you feel like belong to yourself? And to this day, James Peterson, in the year of our Lord 2026, on July 15th, presently, Argentina and England disagree over whether or not the Falkland Islands are sovereign territory of Britain or of Argentina. Functionally, they are British. 74 days of fighting, the British retook the islands, and then in 2013, when they had a vote over this disputed territory, the mostly British expat, British immigrant citizens said, yeah, we want to be part of England, not part of Argentina. But Argentina is like, no, they still belong to us, even though the British have a military garrison there, even though the British kind of handle all of the governance and systems there. Argentina is still like, well, it's 300 miles away from us. It's 8,000 miles away from you. This is part of Argentina, not of England. Okay, so this is in the 1980s. 1982, there's a war. There's casualties. There's deaths. There's actual fights between this. And England, because they're England and Argentina is Argentina, England wins. Okay? And so the hand of God goal, one of the most controversial and legendary things that has ever happened in any sport, came 4 years after this. And Argentine players recount long before Diego Maradona had cemented himself. Well, I guess it's not long before, but it is before Diego Maradona has cemented himself with the hand of God goal, which he later in his life admitted was a handball. You didn't have VAR back then. The English knew that Diego knew. He was so clever in the way that he spoke about it. There's a 30 for 30. If you've never seen it, if you're tuning in, you're just like, what are you talking about? Hand of God goal. 2-1 Argentina. That was the first goal that Argentina scored, actually. He goes up for a header. He's Leo Messi's size, right? So he's not going to win the header no matter how high he jumps. His arm is up near his head. His left arm is actually what knocks the ball into the goal. And England, of course, is upset about it. Asked about it post-game because there's no replay. Diego Maradona said it was a little bit the head of Diego Maradona. It was a little bit the hand of God. And it became called the hand of God goal, okay? And this is right after the Falkland Islands War. But one thing that is talked about less is that in the tunnel walking out, Diego Maradona said to his teammates, let's go beat them. They killed a bunch of our kids. They don't feel the same venom, the same vitriol. Theirs is all soccer related. Theirs is all, you cheated and scored a goal and beat us in the 1986 World Cup. Like, that's why we hate you. And Argentina's like, we hate you because of soccer and because of the Falkland Islands War. Because, of course, it's 8,000 miles away from your home and you won, right? So there's no grave injustice done to the British here in their minds, especially like soccer players. They're just like, what are you talking about, guys? Why are you mad?
And here's where it all comes full circle when you talk about Argentina getting away with something that refs just conveniently don't see. That's the story of Argentina's World Cup so far, OC. And it's another reason if England ends up losing to Messi and Argentina, there's inevitably going to be some looking the other way, like there allegedly has been all tournament for Messi and company. And there's going to be even more outrage and I think justifiable outrage if that's the case for Harry Kane and company. Similar to the hand of God, the outrage over the hand of God handball goal that Diego Maradona had in 1986. So I hope that doesn't color this match, but that's colored every one of Argentina's matches so far this tournament. So I don't know why today's not going to be any different.
The reason we have red and yellow cards is because of England-Argentina. Did you know that?
Actually did not know that.
This is actually long before the 1982 Falkland Islands problem. This is long before the 1986 Hand of God goal. In 1966, England played Argentina at Wembley Stadium.
This is the year that the English brought the cup home,
yes,
as they say over there.
This is and they're waiting on doing it again since then, right? So this was a group stage. Or no, excuse me. They met again in a quarterfinal after the group stage. They met in a quarterfinal at Wembley Stadium in 1966, and the English manager was named Alf Ramsey, and he felt like Argentina was playing rough. They were playing dirty soccer, and obviously this is 1966, so tensions are a little bit different when you're talking about international relations and things like that. The referee in the game spoke only English. It's at Wembley Stadium. Couldn't communicate with the Argentine players.
That seems like a problem for them.
Alf Ramsey, the English manager, called the Argentine players animals because they were being so rough, and Argentina was, of course, like, what? You can't call us animals. England had this is when every British territory overseas, by the way, right now in the 60s, was declaring their independence and fighting for independence at this time, right?
So there was a lot of tension with the British Empire.
Days of British colonialism were shrinking, coming to an end in present day, right? And in a 1-0 England victory after what the English manager thought was a bunch of dirty play, there was the captain for Argentina. His name was Antonio Ratin. He got a red card and got sent off. He refused to leave. He wouldn't leave. For 10 minutes, he's like, no. The referee had given him a red card and sent him off. And he's like, no, that's crap. I'm not leaving. He's speaking Spanish. Referee can't speak Spanish back to him, allegedly. There's no understanding between the two of them. And in his protest, and this is my favorite part about it, when he eventually did get escorted off by two police officers, they had a red carpet that was specifically designated for Queen Elizabeth II, right? He ripped his shirt off and he plopped down on that carpet and wouldn't get off the carpet. No one else was supposed to touch the carpet, only the Queen. And the Argentine captain was just like, bleep that, and just plopped himself down on there, threw his little tantrum. So that was in the 60s. And then you have a meeting in the 80s. And then David Beckham gets sent off in 1998, the greatest disgrace and trouble of his career. Argentina wins that one. And then he scores a penalty in 2002 and beats Argentina. And that is the context of today's rivalry, where Argentina meets England for a trip to the World Cup final.
I feel like it's because people like you and I here in the United States are not that into soccer except for a World Cup, but also because it's been since 2002 since they've played. So I feel like the rivalry has been very dormant for a long time, and that's a reason why people like you and I didn't know these things until the match was set a few days ago, right?
Yeah, just the simmering tension that it belongs to the old heads, right? It's all the guys that are in their late 40s, 50s, 60s now. They remember how hardcore this thing was, and we get it again today. And go back, ESPN did a great article on this and why the rivalry is the way it is. I want you to read it. It takes about 5 minutes to read, and just you layer it's Utah BYU. It's players, legendary players from this rivalry saying, I will never forgive Diego Maradona for cheating the way that he did. I don't care that he's a legend. I will never forgive him for what he did to us. That is why we love sports. Something that just stays in you. It's rooted in your spine after it happens. After you get that win, you brag about it forever. Utah BYU, 9 years, 9 consecutive meetings, more than 9 years, but 9 consecutive meetings where every Utah player gets to brag for the rest of their lives. I never lost to BYU. When they're in the office, when they're at the wedding, when they're with their spouse who comes from a BYU family. Oh, I don't know what that's like losing in that rivalry game to you. And now the script has flipped, and BYU has this haughtiness.
Now we've got a few. There's a handful of BYU players that can say the same thing because of their recent win streak. Yeah,
I mean, it's wild, but it's why we love sports. I could rant about this forever. I got to take a break so we could get to Jason Kreis. We'll talk a little World Cup with him. I'm going to ask him about his favorite rivalry during his playing days, get some context on his thoughts here. And, of course, we'll discuss a little RSL and Burnley FC tonight at America First Field. It's the Sean O'Connell Show, rolling on a Wednesday, ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. Show on ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. Reminder that this time of year, the energy efficiency of your home becomes more important than, well, almost any time until you get to late January, February. And then the energy efficiency is important again, but it's just flipped on its head. It's on the other side of the ledger here. Now you don't want to lose the cool air, and in the wintertime, you don't want to lose the warm air. But the fact of the matter remains, you need to make sure that whatever your heater and your air conditioner are doing is being saved by the doors and, more importantly, by the windows in your home. Every window in your home is an opening to the elements and an opening to the outside. If you have old windows, aluminum frames, inefficient energy practices, single panes, you're going to be overpaying for your energy bills. And the best solution for you comes from our friends at Advanced Window Products. 801-850-9100. Get on the schedule right now. They can explain it to you a lot better than I can, but the best replacement windows in the industry, manufactured right here in Salt Lake City and given a warranty for a lifetime by Nate Orchard, by Jake Weber, by a staff and a company that actually cares about you and cares about your home and the resale value of your home and the energy efficiency of your home. 801-850-9100 is how you get a hold of them. AdvancedWindows.com is how you found them out online. And, of course, $2,500 off 10 windows or more. Get on the schedule now. You'll have new windows in by the end of the summer, those August dog days when it's 100 degrees. Now your air conditioner can keep up because you have brand new windows from Advanced Window Products. Also, they have financing options that could potentially offset the cost of your brand new windows by saving you a bunch of money. Suddenly your energy bill's down $100, $150 a month. Maybe you didn't replace a ton of windows. Maybe your financing is only, your payment plan is only somewhere in that neighborhood. In that point, it feels like you got free windows. Window coverings available as well. AdvancedWindows.com. Tell them OC sent you. All right, we're trying to track down Jason Kreis. Beer Bar has been kind enough to sponsor all of our World Cup talk throughout this tournament. Great place for you to go watch the Argentina-England semifinal. Another fun thing here. Argentina decided, you know what, let's petition FIFA and let's see if we can wear our away kits for this game. Argentina's away kits are the dark blue. Do you know why they want to wear those? Because the best moments of Argentine football against England, including the Hand of God game, guess what color they were wearing? I love it. It's a real rivalry. Jason Kreis kind enough to step on with us and talk a little RSL return against Burnley FC and, of course, some World Cup. Jason Kreis, how are you, sir?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, glad to have you on. I spent the first half hour of the show just ranting about the crazy history in this Argentina-England World Cup rivalry, not because I was raised in it and not because I know all that much about it, but because the reporting on it and the fact that we get this matchup educated me to the intensity of it and how incredible the history is and how nuanced some of it is. And, it goes well beyond the pitch for a lot of people. And so I wanted to ask you, your favorite rivalry that you played in, that you coached in, that you have administered over, whatever, your favorite soccer rivalry and why it mattered so much to you.
Obviously, been some really good ones. Starting out as a player in Dallas for strange reason, I'm not exactly sure why. But Chicago was our biggest rivalry. Every single game seemed like it had so much emotion in it. The fans in Chicago were some of the meanest out there. So I have a lot of memories of being called a lot of creative names in Chicago. And as a coach, Colorado was a big rival of ours. But I would say we had more meaningful games against the Galaxy. So I think, as the history of coaching here, that would have to be a big rivalry. And just as a fan, the U.S.-Mexico rivalry is actually a gigantic one. There's been a lot of hatred there between those two teams and a lot of fighting and infighting and just crazy things that happen in all those games.
So what are your thoughts on Argentina-England today? It's been 24 years, I think, since these two teams have met up with anything close to this level of consequence. and Messi on one side, Kane and Bellingham and those guys on the other. How do you see today's semifinal playing out?
I mean, I think this one's going to be as intriguing as yesterday's. I think that this Final Four, this World Cup, is absolutely fantastic. If you kind of alluded to or think about golf, when you go to that final day and if you've got 5 of the top 10 in the world fighting for the leaderboard, it reminds me of that. These are 4 powerhouses in the world game, have been for a long time. Really, in the history of the game, all 4 have been powerhouses. And so today's game, I think, should be great for that. The thing that I think about is like England and Argentina arguably are 2 of the most soccer crazy countries in the world. The most passionate fans. When you go to a game in either one of those places, you can really feel the energy and the passion coming out of the fan groups. And so I think this should be an absolutely exciting and entertaining game today.
World Cup in general, we've talked about it a little bit. And when you joined me, I don't know if a couple of weeks ago, maybe a week ago, we talked about the context of the North America hosting this thing and Team USA and all that. And this was the last time we had a conversation, right? The exit looming and the Balogun situation and all that. Now, the narrative around U.S. men's national team is one of, are we developing the right way? Is our youth soccer system correct? I have young kids who are like at the very, very beginning in women's soccer and girls soccer of like kind of exploring this. My wife was a college soccer player, and she's like, no, this is exactly what it is. It's club teams and things like that. So I'm going to do the very unfair thing right now, Jason Christ, and I'm going to say I give you a totally blank slate on American soccer, and from the youth movement all the way up to what I think is a very successful model that we've seen with RSL, with the academy developing professional talent. How do you make the U.S. men's national team as dominant as some of these Argentina, England, Spain, France type squads?
Are you giving me a blank checkbook as well?
I am, yes, if that's what it takes.
Yeah, I mean, I think if we were to just say our objective is that, to try to win a World Cup, I think we probably would start by saying we need to get rid of the pay-for-play model. And that's what happens in other countries. Kids in other countries that want to play soccer at any level really can find a community resource that is funded by the community and can play for free, essentially. And I think that we have taken a major step towards that in that all of the MLS teams now have academy teams, and all of the MLS academy teams, they do not require the parents to pay a dime for that. So the ownership of our MLS teams has taken on a tremendous amount of the burden for the development of young players in our country. I would call to arms U.S. Soccer, because U.S. Soccer does not spend a majority of that money on the development of those young players. U.S. Soccer funds things like the national teams, but they are not reaching back to MLS and saying, we would like to also help you with the funding. In other countries like England, I went to England over the winter this year to talk to them about their academy system. Their FA, their football association, basically gives a kickback to any club that takes their development of their young players very seriously. If the club's academy is seen to be of a certain level, then the FA kicks back money to those clubs and is part and parcel of the development of those players. So I think there's just a lot of cooperation and collaboration that still needs to happen in our country. But I do think, I would repeat, I think the MLS teams are doing a very nice job of taking a step in the right direction.
I can't imagine why there would be, I mean, unless it's a lack of resources for U.S. soccer itself, why they wouldn't want to follow the model of, like you just mentioned, England. Because I imagine then, if that kickback is coming, then the clubs themselves and the youth development system themselves, they're incentivized to do better, right? To be better, so that they qualify for that kickbacks. It just feels it's intuitively, it makes a lot of sense even for a non-soccer guy.
It makes a ton of sense in my mind. What it does, it also allows U.S. Soccer to now have a hand in the development of those players, right? They can set standards and hold the MLS academies to those standards and say, if you don't meet these standards, then we won't be helping you to fund your academy because it's not at the level that it needs to be. Now they're involved. Now we're collaborating. Now we're communicating about these young players that we're developing, hopefully, to become future U.S. men's national team stars.
I've given you a blank checkbook and a blank slate, and part of that is you've got to decide with Mauricio Pochettino at the end of his contract if you retain him and he is the guy to lead this men's national team moving forward. What would you do on that front?
This is a really difficult decision, and I would give an opinion two ways. Opinion number one would say that a coach of a national team needs more than 2 years to sort of complete his pathway, his journey with the team. And so from that perspective, I would want to err on, let's give this guy another 4 years. But from the perspective of what I see as a soccer person, the actual playing on the field under him, I can't say that I'm pleased. I am not a fan of what I see with the team. I am a fan of, all the emotion and passion that went into this World Cup. I am a fan of what this team was able to give this country in this World Cup. But tactically, I just don't see enough there. I want to see us take the next step. I want to see us play with a real clear identity with how we're trying to score goals, with how and where we're trying to defend. I just want to see more. So I give you both sides of the fence there. I apologize for that.
No, it's good because it gives me the whole picture. Jason Christ is our guest here on the Sean O'Connell Show. Talking a little World Cup. We'll get to some RSL. And look, my hope was, and I know your hope was, and a lot of people here in Salt Lake City, the hope was there would have been an RSL element as we watched this U.S. men's national team. It felt like Diego Luna was going to make the squad, that Gozo had a chance making the squad. Of course, we've already talked about this. Neither guy ends up on the squad. And through group play, I was like, okay, well, I don't really know what I'm talking about. And, things worked out, right? You won the group and you beat Bosnia, and it's like, all right, so maybe, for lack of a better term, you didn't need those guys. And then against Belgium, you see a team that comes out kind of flat. And I'm not saying that Diego Luna or Gozo or anyone would have been the ultimate solution for that. But when Berhalter gets subbed in, there's like at least a little life there. And there's like, a little injection of energy. And I was like, oh, well, maybe this is the place where a Moon Man would have been the perfect fit for this U.S. men's national team. And I wonder if you, watching that Belgium game, had any of those same thoughts.
1,000%. 1,000%. Again, I would say if you went to the Australia game, I actually got to go to that game live. But what a great experience. So thankful to my ownership group for taking me. But you saw a team in Australia that was also sitting back very deep and was difficult to break down. It's those kind of games. And in the second half against Belgium, they didn't need to do anything other than just make sure we didn't create any real good goal-scoring chances. It's those kind of games where you need a Luna who wants to receive the ball between the lines, between their back four and their midfield four, wants to turn and can go at players to make combinations and goal-scoring chances happen. And I think, you just looked at the substitutions that were made in that game. He ended up with 4 central, I would call it more defensive, central midfield players on the field all at once. And so, again, does he not have that player in his roster? I would argue that he did maybe in 1 or 2 of the players, but he certainly didn't seem to trust them because he didn't put them on. And Luna has shown in the past year and a half that he's quite capable of doing those things at that level. So I think there was absolutely an argument for his inclusion in that group and his playing in that sort of game.
Well, good news for all the RSL fans out there is you don't have to wait any longer for Diego Luna because you've got a friendly against Burnley FC at America First Field tonight. It's the first game since May 23rd. Again, the last time you were on, we talked a little bit about what these guys have been up to and, your eyes on. So what should we expect? Is this a club that is in full form and ready to hit the ground running even in a friendly?
Yeah, I mean, essentially what we're at is we're at the end of a second preseason. So the guys have been working extremely hard. They had a friendly game up in Minnesota last week. We played a game against Nashville a couple of weeks ago. There has been sort of match-like minutes for the players. door rounding into form. I didn't see him play against Minnesota. I saw him play the week before, and I was very happy with where the level was. Um, and so, yeah, really interested to see how tonight goes. For people that don't know, this is a friendly, but this is going to be more than just a normal friendly because it's our last opportunity to get our guys out there and get it ready for next week's game at LAFC. So we will be playing our strongest lineup for the majority of this game. And so if there's fans out there that have been a little hesitant about buying tickets, I would say get those tickets bought. Come get a look at this new, fresh, and hungry RSL that is ready to start the second half of this season.
It'll be next Wednesday for the return of MLS actual play against LAFC. And obviously you're kind of rounding after the international break. You're heading into this second half of the season in a really good position, third in the West right now. And, is this where you expected the team to be? The MLS season is such a marathon. Is this kind of where you thought, maybe you would be after this international break?
Frankly and honestly, this is well ahead of where I thought this team would be. I was preaching to ownership and other folks that would listen, saying at the beginning of the season, we're all going to need to be real patient here. We've got so many new pieces, and trying to put this all together is going to take time. And instead, we got the exact opposite. We had a really nice start to the season. The team has come together so quickly. All of our new players, our new signings, have made major contributions in a very positive way in the first half of the season. So we feel real good about where we're at. And now the message is, can we push on? Can we take a good beginning of the season and push on and improve and finish really strongly, and then see if we can make some sort of playoff run?
On the women's side, NWSL side, the Royals are back in action. A couple of losses on the bounce now. Tough one against Chicago. I was there for the 3-1 loss to Gotham on Friday, and then it's Orlando coming in to America First Field on Saturday. So how do they get back on the right track on Saturday?
Yeah, it's very similar. I would actually say they've had a better start to their season than RSL. Going into the break, we had finished, I think, tied for second or third place in the entire league. So a really, really positive first of the opening stanza, let's call it, to the season. They've come back after a break, and unfortunately, we've had a couple of really key injuries. Our two Japanese players, Mina Tanaka and Miyabi, both picked up injuries on international duties, so we're missing two important players there. Paige Cronin picked up an injury actually just before the break, and she's coming back from injury. And then a really important player for us, Kale Real, central defender, has picked up an injury, but she's now coming back as well. And so when you miss those important pieces, and then there's some other things about, coaching staff was missing, and kind of the break was not handled in the most perfect and smooth way by our group, and that led to a couple of slips in the last two games. But we've got an opportunity this weekend against Orlando at home to right some of those wrongs, as well as having players coming back from injury. So we all still feel really positive about the Royals' season so far and how we think we can end this season.
We were in the building. My family and I came to the 3-1 Gotham game, and I will say this, the drone show was a big hit in the O'Connell household on Princess Night. That was elite.
Was the drone show better than the princesses, or?
Well, I thought they were both great, but I'm going off the opinions of a 7-year-old, a 4.5-year-old, and a 2-year-old. It seems like the drone show was the big hit.
Okay. Always wise to follow their opinions, for sure.
We will see you tonight, or at least I hope I will see you tonight, also coming down to check out RSL versus Burnley. So appreciate your time today, and hopefully I get to chat with you later.
You betcha. Thanks again for having me.
That's Jason Kreis, President of Soccer Operations for RSL and for Royals in the NWSL. Burnley FC coming into America First Field tonight. J.J. Watt is allegedly going to be there with his wife, who is from the Sandy Draper area. He is, of course, one of the co-owners of this team alongside Dave Checketts. I wonder if Spence is going to this game since his dad's going to be there. Or
Spence,
I guess I don't even know if his dad's going to be there.
I'm sure Spence and Dave will both be there. They'll be sitting front row or something, or in a suite like Spence is wont to do when he goes to games. So that'd be my guess, but we'll see. It's something to talk about in crosstalk.
Speaking of Spence Checketts, join him at Brighton for the first day of the Women's Disc Golf Championship. That's coming up tomorrow, this Thursday. It's a PDGA Pro Major featuring the FPO division, and I know exactly what those things mean, for sure. Tune into the drive all week for a chance to win a 4-pack of tickets. You can also visit ESPN700sports.com, watch the championship live, and buy general admission and VIP tickets. That is Brighton Resort, the Women's Disc Golf Championship, coming up tomorrow. That is Thursday. All right, we've shuffled things around just a little bit. Bowler has to punt until tomorrow. That's fine. Craig Bowler-Jack will join us tomorrow. Jeff Schwartz is going to move to 1 o'clock today. We've got a lot to talk about on the college football front. So we'll head into hour 2 next. It's the Sean O'Connell Show on ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. Zach Bryan taking over Rice-Eccles Stadium on August 7th. ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM want to send you and a concert buddy to the show. Tune into the Drive with Spence Checketts around 4:20 p.m. for your chance to score a pair of tickets. Details are available at ESPN700sports.com. All right, the first hour of the show, I didn't even intend for us to be talking mostly soccer that whole time, but I went down a rabbit hole last night about the England versus Argentina rivalry. That rabbit hole took me so deep that I learned about an island I didn't even know existed in the Atlantic Ocean. Apparently, the occupants of the Falkland Islands, who have had, that's been the site of conflict, geopolitical conflict between Argentina and England, including a 74-day war back in 1982. Most of the citizens are from England, and then there's also a bunch of people who have immigrated to the Falkland Islands from this tiny little place that's off the coast of Namibia. So you learn a little something new every day, or at least I do, because I guess I don't know enough already. England versus Argentina will kick off. First kick will be at 1. Beer Bar gives you all of our World Cup coverage here on ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. I suggest you head down to Beer Bar to watch England-Argentina if you don't have a better place to watch it. Even if you do have a better place to watch it, you're probably wrong, so go ahead and watch it. As the World Cup has kind of taken over the awareness of or has taken over the imagination of sports fans all over the place, and I hope it still holds that momentum here in the United States, even though, the U.S. is out of the tournament. You're getting, it's kind of like when you're a Utah football fan or a BYU football fan, and you love college football season and you want your team to make the college football playoff, but then they don't. Are you still the type that watches the college football playoff? Obviously, I am. Are you still watching Indiana versus Miami in a championship game? Because what we have with these semifinals, the one played yesterday with Spain and France, and the one that's coming today with Argentina and England, I mean, it's the equivalent of an NCAA Final Four that's, like I said, it's Duke, North Carolina, Kansas, Michigan, or something in the Final Four. In the semifinals of a college football playoff, it's USC, Notre Dame, Miami, Ohio State. All respect to Indiana, but they're a new blood rather than a blue blood. These are the blue bloods of soccer that we're watching. So France is out. Spain moves on to the final. We find out who plays against Spain today when Argentina takes on England at 1 o'clock.
And by the way, that completely screwed you up. You chose the wrong champion, OC. How embarrassing for you. You had France winning.
Didn't you have Jordan winning?
You know what? This isn't about me.
I just want to make sure. I just want to make sure we're on the same page here. Didn't you have?
I did.
The nation of Jordan winning.
I did. So we weren't able to get to this last week with media days, and we only had two live shows last week, OC. But I wanted to update you. I made a little fantasy point system. You won. I'll just throw that out there at the beginning. I'm not trying to say I beat you or anything, but here's what I did. We got 1 point for predicting the right group winner. Okay. You got half a point for if we picked a team to win the group, they didn't win the group, but they still advanced, right? I figured that's fair.
Yeah.
2 points for predicting the correct round that the U.S. men's national team went out. You said round of 16. You got the 2 points there. I said quarters. I missed out.
All right.
And then 3 points for picking the correct champion. Neither of us got that. You don't have to say who I picked again. Neither of us got it, okay, OC? Jeez. So I got 5 points. You finished with 10.
You're looking at this from a binary standpoint. It's like both of us were just wrong, not that you were much more wrong.
There's no nuance. It's just
It's
we're
just,
right
hey,
or wrong.
There's multiple ways that you could approach this, right? It's like, did you predict the correct champion? The answer in both of our cases is no.
So we're both equal.
So we're equally wrong?
We're equally wrong. You doubled me up, though, in this little fantasy game I created out of our picks. 10 points because you got 7. You picked 7 group winners, which is very impressive.
It's pretty good.
And two of your picks, the teams that you picked to win the group, did advance to knockouts, but did not win the group. So you got an extra point for that one. And then you got the 2 points for being unpatriotic and knowing ahead of time that the U.S. was going to have an embarrassing loss in the round of 16.
I don't think that makes me unpatriotic. But also, by the way, I think it's important to note that I picked all of those group winners correctly, but the rule was that we couldn't pick the same group winner.
Yeah, that's for fun. Make it more fun, but also so that we had different group winners. Yeah.
Yeah. Because
contrast to me, the only points I got was in the group stage. I got 2. Well, was from the group stage, I should say.
Well,
2 group winners, and then 6 of mine advanced to knockouts.
One of which was Team USA.
Yeah.
So, and you got to pick first in that one. Obviously, if I were allowed to, I would have picked Team USA.
I mean, I don't know. We don't know that. You picked Turkey is the only team that didn't advance from that group.
Well, who won the game between USA and Turkey?
Good. The meaningless game. Shout out to you for. No, we did a little snake draft format, so I happened to luck out when it was time for U.S. group to be picked. I got to pick first. That's true.
Let me ask you this: Do you feel like, okay? So I don't golf. A lot of people, not so much anymore, because people close to me are just resigned to the fact that they're not going to convince me to get into it, to be a big golfer, right? There are plenty of people that say the best place to get business done, the best place to get new job opportunities is out on the golf course. You want stock advice? Be out on the golf course. There's somebody out there who knows what they're doing. You want to close a deal, big real estate acquisition, invite the seller to go golfing and hash it out over 18 holes, whatever. I'm sure that's real. There's no way this many people would be talking about it if it wasn't a real thing. I think that the power broker relationships that happen in these like hyper exclusive events is even more interesting, right? If you could get business deals done golfing, I'm sure you can get even better business deals done golfing the week of the Masters or something like that, taking somebody to Augusta. Right now, the NBA is piggybacking off of the World Cup, the popularity of the World Cup, the international flavor of the World Cup. And we saw the NHL do this with the 4 nations, right? When we saw the NBA then do it copycat and bring in international flair to their All-Star weekend. The NBA right now is seizing on the moment of, sort of Olympic level fervor over soccer and over, right now, let's be honest, a European friendliness toward America. European fan bases realizing that America, American product, American brands, not all bad.
This is a perfect segue to the picture I sent you from an airport on the way home, OC.
Yes. That was the Seattle airport, right?
Yeah, I had no idea that, and it's a brilliant move by the folks there, but I had no idea that there were people trying to capitalize this. So, one of those convenience stores where everything costs way too much.
Yeah. And
in the terminal, I'm walking around looking to buy some licorice for way too much money to snack on the plane, right?
What kind?
Twizzlers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Are you a Red Vines guy?
Well, licorice is not my favorite, but if I'm going licorice and you're going in an airport licorice situation, they got that Wallaby Willies or whatever it's called.
Yeah. I didn't see any of those where I was, but I'm a sucker for Twizzlers too.
All right, that's fair.
But so I got me my pack of Twizzlers. I'm walking out, and they have a World Cup section, which I'm like, okay, of course, this is one of the World Cup hosting sites, and they've got a book with it looked like a photo book of the top players in the World Cup and some stuffed animals, World Cup themed stuffed animals. And next to all of that, OC, is Hidden Valley Ranch dressing.
Yes. Yes.
So great.
Because like we talked about, so many European fans and international fans became obsessed with ranch dressing, and they wanted to take some home, and then people would show up and have it in their carry-on bags, and they'd have to dump it out or throw it away at TSA.
So this is so now places. There's got to be other places. I'm sure JFK and LaGuardia and some of these other host airports they probably got their own same thing in the terminal, so you don't have to dump this out because you're buying it here.
I need to know how long this lasts, right? Because if ranch becomes a big time seller at airports, that is going to be one of the craziest byproducts of this World Cup being a North American World Cup. If suddenly, I'm flying to a PFL event, going through Amsterdam, or flying from Salt Lake City to Amsterdam to get overseas, and there's ranch dressing at the Salt Lake City airport because all of a sudden every European wants to get ranch while they're in America, that is going to be nuts. If this is something that just fades out as soon as the World Cup is over, that'd make more sense. In any case, back to the actual sports story here. There's a moment happening right now where the international community is looking at sports business in America, doing business with American sport, and saying, hey, this World Cup thing has worked out pretty well, and the NBA is trying to capitalize on this. Adam Silver, the league's board of governors, et cetera, deputy commissioner, they are having meetings right now during the World Cup, allegedly today at a World Cup semifinal, speaking with groups interested in owning NBA Europe teams. Now, we've talked about expansion of the NFL to Europe. That has been played with. There obviously used to be an NFL Europe, which was kind of occupying the same space that the UFL does now. Guys who can't necessarily make a staple NFL roster were playing over in NFL Europe or bouncing back and forth between them. The NBA is proposing, though, that NBA teams, NBA affiliated teams, would have a place in Europe. I really want to know what kind of hostility there will be to the NBA entering that market. Eurobasket already has teams over there.
The EuroLeague is arguably the second best league in the world. G League has an argument with that too. But yeah, they are well established over there. They have their own way of playing, in their own tournament formats, that kind of thing that is not like the NBA's playoff format. Yeah, it would be interesting. They definitely, up to this point, if they're ready to start sort of launching this thing, they definitely have had, you would hope, they've had conversations with the clubs over there to be like, how can we coexist? How can we unite into one? Whatever we need to do to make this work. If they haven't, OC, the NBA is in for a tough time here because they're nuts over there about their sports, and they, like you said, they've had this foothold here. They do not want to give it up.
This is the quote from Adam Silver. We've had tremendous interest from multiple cities in Europe, including cities that we didn't ask for bids from. So, right, you're going into a European NBA market. You're saying, hey, I would like to have a team in Paris. I'd like to have a team in London. I'd like to have a team in Berlin. I'd like to have a team. You're going to probably hit all of the big clubs, right, or all the big cities and try to put a club there. And apparently there are, a bunch of other teams or a bunch of other cities that have entrepreneurs, have business owners that are saying, I would also like to have an NBA team here in my city. Now, again, the easiest equivalent to draw here is things like the G League, is things like the UFL, where if you try to go in where there's already an NFL team, your UFL team is going to struggle for the most part. Obviously, LA is big enough, New York is big enough that they feel like, we're serving a different fan base because the people who can't afford those NFL tickets but want to go see pro football, maybe they'll come watch us. The teams that seem to thrive, if you can say anyone is thriving in things like the G League and the UFL, are in those sort of secondary markets.
Those like AAA cities, if you will.
AAA baseball is another great equivalent here, right? So, and the reason I bring that up is because a lot of European clubs are in Madrid and Barcelona and Paris already.
In all the places that you could name without ever visiting Europe. Like, I know that's in Europe. Yeah.
I went to a professional basketball game in Lyon, France. Lyon is like the second city of France. And we went to a professional basketball game there, and it was a high level of basketball. It was a bunch of French like teenagers and a bunch of American D1 basketball players. So kind of like a mix of this is the best France has to offer from our system, our development system, and this is a bunch of guys who couldn't make it into the NBA and are probably even a level below the G League potentially, or just preferred this to the G League, and they're playing over here. It's a high level of basketball. It's at least as good as, non-major college basketball. It's a 15,000 seat arena, 12,000 probably seat arena. It's full. And that's not in Paris, right? So I'm like, okay, maybe when I read an article like this, the NBA trying to bring NBA Europe teams to Europe, the appetite for sport over there is, dare I say it, as robust, as ravenous, or maybe more than here in the United States of America. And basketball is something that it's a little bit more of a universal thing. Like the NFL Europe thing made sense for the NFL to have properties to try to develop players. But there's no American football fans, especially in those days. You're playing to an expat community and the sort of general sports curiosity of Europeans. Like the same as when people want to watch a rugby game over here because, wow, that's just a different game. I don't know much about it. When people want to watch a cricket showcase over here, I don't really know much about this. I'd like to go, though. I like sports. I like sporting events. Or you're like, I got nothing to do today. Let me go watch a volleyball game or something. That's what basketball has become an international sport. Basketball has been taken out of the U.S. and Canada in a way that I never thought would be possible. The best players in the world now, half of them are coming from overseas. More than half of them are coming from overseas in a lot of people's minds. So this is going to be a secondary NBA league. The reason I am so excited about the possibility of it, if they can get over the competition with the European clubs already, is the pipeline of European talent to the NBA is already pretty slick. Would this be a situation where we could get promotion and relegation if they're all owned by the NBA?
This could be the experimental league that they've always tried to have with the G League, but they could experiment more with European style, world soccer style rules and formats. Absolutely.
Like, if the Chicago Bulls are going to continue to stink, but the Paris Eiffel Towers suddenly win their league, could we swap them out?
Could they move the Parisian team to Chicago?
Could we move the Eiffel Tower to Chicago?
If we just need Gru to shrink it for us, then we could absolutely do it.
I don't know. It's really interesting, and the NBA they are they're going to be able to gobble up space in other countries in a way that the NFL just simply cannot. Now, the NFL has one advantage of having an overseas franchise potentially that the NBA doesn't. You only have to play a game a week in the NFL, right? So you could actually make it make sense scheduling-wise. I don't know how you fit a Parisian team in the NBA or a London team in the NBA or a Stockholm team in the NBA into an already demanding travel schedule for NBA teams.
Absolutely, and you'd have to – the way that it would have to be done just right now, spitballing OC, is you'd have to have a group of teams that just stay in Europe for like a month and a half, and they barnstorm, they play that segment of their regular season in that 4 to 6 weeks, right? And then they fly back home, and then the next batch of teams go to Europe, or vice versa. Like that would be, needless to say, very complex.
But it sounds like a year from now, or a year and a couple of months from now, we're going to have an NBA Europe League. And we're going to have a European league that is owned by, operated by, attached to the NBA. Instead of EuroLeague basketball, you're going to, and if, I promise you this, if it's successful in Europe, it's not going to stop in Europe. The NBA is never going to beat the NFL on domestic soil here, but the NBA could, from a global perspective, if they expand like this, they could take over the entire planet the way that NFL, I don't think, ever will be able to.
Yeah, the NBA has the best upside to have compete with soccer is too strong a word, but to be soccer light around the world as like, okay, everyone in Europe, everyone in Africa loves soccer, knows the best soccer players in the world. Ask any of them, they probably name the best soccer players. Some of them we haven't even heard of, right? Before this World Cup, of course. And the next team sport that they might be able to do that, if this is a success, would be NBA. If they're able to make this success. I've actually, years ago, I was like, how cool would it be to have, and I didn't know much about the Champions League in various parts of the world for soccer, so I didn't know it was basically the Champions League format. But I was thinking, how cool would it be to have like a World Cup with like club teams around the world every however many years in basketball? There's enough international talent to do that, and this is a long time ago now. I was thinking that even more international talent now makes the idea even more viable. If that could be something that, if this NBA Europe is a success, they could parlay something into, have a World Champions League type tournament down the road. If not, like you said, these teams just get incorporated in the NBA. I don't think I'd love that so much, but doing something else where the best NBA teams in America play the best NBA teams in Europe and see who comes out on top, that might be fun.
The NBA also, we talk about the grassroots kind of nature of soccer and how it's not effective in the United States. We're not doing it right in the United States. The NFL they're scouting talent now in far-flung regions of the world, right? The NFL now sponsors events in Polynesia, in Australia, in Africa. The NBA has been doing that. There's an NBA Africa League, right? They've got a facility down there, and it's designed for, the parent product to be able to poach talent from these far-flung regions, right? One thing that the NBA could do, and it'd be a grand project, and it'd be something that would take years, but they could absolutely afford to do it, and I think it would serve many, many, many interests if they did do it. The reason why soccer is so popular and ubiquitous around the world is, we've talked about this, I'm not giving you something you don't know. All it takes is a flat surface, right? And anything that you can put two of down and say, between that is the goal. That is why soccer is played by everybody, by billions and billions and billions of people. Basketball takes like one small step above that to have a viable basketball playing surface. But it's not huge. It's not a big leap, right? Basketball takes concrete and a couple of backboards. Now, the cost of doing that in the Philippines is low. The cost of doing that in South Africa is low. The cost of I lived in Zambia, and they had one basketball court in town. The surface, by the way, whoever had put down the concrete, it was like the slickest, like half pipe style concrete. It was, I don't know why they finished it the way they finished it. It was the smoothest, slipperiest concrete that has ever existed on the planet. But it was 2 baskets on a regulation-sized outdoor court, and it was played on every minute the sun was up. There were no lights. So from the early morning all the way until the sun went down, there was always somebody playing on this one basketball court in town. And this town it's in a sort of agrarian area, but it's like the overall population base surrounding it is like 20,000 people. And this town, like all 20,000 people at some point shot a basket on those hoops. Now the NBA, that to put that thing in was probably $10,000, right? The NBA could do that 10,000 times over wherever they wanted to. If they were interested.
They could spend a little bit more on the actual surface of the court to make it, like.
Or you know what? Just
leave it the same. Yeah, I just say that. You say $10,000. That's for like the dirt cheapest, just basic. Let's just put concrete down.
And honestly, I'm probably way overshooting it. I'm probably because
maybe it's probably less than
those
that.
Building materials in some of those places. It's like it's dirt cheap.
Yeah.
So the NBA's attempt to globalize, really, there's a lot of meat on the bone there, is the point I'm getting at.
Absolutely.
So much so at the top, they're having these meetings in the luxury suites at World Cup games and saying, hey, you flew all the way over here to watch your Spanish boys win and to watch Kylian Mbappe try to advance. Would you be interested in having an NBA franchise in France? And, of course, all of these big money folks are like, ooh, because professional sport right now, the valuations on professional sport have just climbed and climbed and climbed and climbed, even the fringe products. So this might be the new frontier for the NBA, and they're using the World Cup to accelerate it. Fascinating how all that works. Got to take another break here on the Sean O'Connell Show. We'll come back with the Daily Dump, brought to you by Valley Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. Is Kyle Whittingham about to have a new boss at Michigan? We'll discuss on ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. The truck with the duck will handle your plumbing, your cooling, your heating, your drain cleaning, your vent cleaning. Give them a ring. Go to Valley Plumbing HVAC. Make the appointment online using the chat feature. But whatever you're doing, look for the truck with the duck. One of our sales guys yesterday, HVAC went out. Boom. Truck with the duck is the solution. Valley Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. All right. Here's something interesting for all of you people like me who want to move on, but you can't find yourself finding a way to just completely get rid of the Michigan interest, the Kyle Whittingham interest, the Lewis Powell interest, the Jason Beck interest. You're just like, I still got to keep one eye on what's going on there. Ward Manuel, who is the athletic director at the University of Michigan, has come under repetitive fire, and his seat is heating up even more because the Sharon Moore situation obviously got really, really ugly at Michigan. And Ward Emanuel, the athletic director, he was the guy who elevated Sharon Moore to his new position, obviously. He's the guy who had to handle the fallout. He's the guy who found the exact right replacement coach, the anti-scandal in somebody like Kyle Whittingham. But further investigation into the timelines of this whole mess with Sharon Moore, which of course came after an inappropriate relationship with a staff member who has sued Michigan, who is trying to figure out a way to find legal recourse for herself. She also was fired by the University of Michigan, etc. The timelines appear to expose that Manuel knew more about this than he originally let on. That the behavior of Sharon Moore was something that the department was actually aware of a lot longer, or prior to, significantly prior to when any action was taken. And it gets to this conversation we have really frequently, and there's been plenty of examples of this. And the worst, most heinous, terrible one was when we talked about it with Joe Paterno and the leadership at Penn State. And how much do you really know about what's happening with your subordinates? How much do you really know about what's happening on campus? How much do you really know about what's happening with your student athletes? And really, if you're in a position of leadership, the two sides of the coin, the two answers are, well, I don't know. How am I supposed to know that? That's unacceptable, right? Because you are supposed to know. That's the whole point of you being in charge. You're the one who is supposed to have a tight grip on everything beneath you in your football program, or in this case, in your Michigan athletic department. The other side of that is, well, of course I knew about this, and this is how I handled it. And if how you handled it was inappropriate or incorrect, also unacceptable. And this is the burden of high-level leadership in sport right now, certainly in college sport right now, because it's an incredibly difficult thing to balance. Knowing everything that's going on your campus, micromanaging coaches, micromanaging players, micromanaging now your NIL fund and your general manager and things like that. But at Michigan, if you're Ward Manuel, you are the chairman, the president, the CEO of an incredibly high-level Fortune 500 company, like a Fortune 100 company. We're talking about Michigan athletics here. We're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars flowing in and flowing out every single year through the athletic department. We're talking about a national champion basketball team and a football team that every year is supposed to be in that conversation. And that's just the two big revenue-producing sports, right? And the investigation that has been done by a law firm, partially on the behalf of the young woman who was involved with Sharon Moore, is basically turning out results that, hey, this guy, they knew about this. They had hints of this behavior as much as 2 years ago. Now, Ward did an awesome job of bringing in Kyle Whittingham to be the Alka-Seltzer that calms down the upset stomach of Michigan football. But that's not enough to save your job if you didn't manage this properly moving forward, or when you found out about it immediately. Like, there's no excuse left. If this were the 1980s and everyone back in those days just kind of shrugged their shoulders and just like, oh, well, I'm not supposed to deal with that. I'm not supposed to adjudicate any of that.
And what are we going to do? He's a good football coach, which
he's a good football coach. Can't lose him. They're two consenting adults, whatever. Whether he's faithful or not is none of my business. Like, there's a lot of that back in those days.
Explaining away.
And you just be like, and everyone just kind of threw their hands up over it, right? We are well removed from all of that. We now have a better understanding of power dynamics that exist when you're a coach that gets elevated, climbs this ladder, and eventually becomes a head coach, and you're dealing with, like, effectively a secretary. There's a power imbalance there. And look, nobody's innocent here, right? Because, again, these are consenting adults. So it's not like anyone is without blame. But when you're the leader here, this is the thing that drives me so crazy about it. When you're in the leadership position and you're the guy at the top, you're like, oh, well, you screwed up, kid. You know you're not supposed to do that. You know that's controversy that I can't afford in my athletic department. I'm taking this out of the hands of Jim Harbaugh. I'm taking this out of the hands of whoever, because you have violated a conduct policy that we have in our organization. You voluntarily did this. You're gone.
I mean, think about Ime Udoka with the Boston Celtics, who, different situation. There's no abuse allegations against Ime Udoka like there is with Sharon Moore, and one of the reasons why the victim is seeking legal recourse, like you said. Ime Udoka had an inappropriate relationship with a subordinate with the Boston Celtics months after, I think just a few months even after he took the Celtics to the finals in 2022, his first year as the head coach after Brad Stevens stepped down and became president of basketball operations. Ime Udoka was his successor. Months after that, he gets fired just because he had an inappropriate relationship, not because that relationship also had some abuse or maybe some domestic violence allegations. Just he had an inappropriate relationship. The Boston Celtics acted quickly on that and said, no, you violated this policy. We love you as a coach. Unfortunately, you cannot be our coach anymore. Worked out fine. They end up winning a championship soon after that and continue to be great contenders after that under Joe Mazzulla. That beside the fact, Michigan decides to try to sweep it under the rug a little bit. At least that's what these new findings are suggesting. And now you have a mess even after you got rid of that coach. Now the AD is maybe his seat's super hot when he could have just done what the Celtics did and just nipped it in the bud right when he knew about it.
Here's the thing that's tough, because I don't have any understanding of how complicated these jobs are, right? As much as I read about it, as much as you kind of like imagine, you think, I have no real working knowledge of how difficult it is to manage a job like this. But we now have dozens and dozens and dozens of examples of where if you don't do the right thing, or if you're dishonest about the process by which you make your decisions, it's going to come out. You're at a university, there are public records requests. When the you-know-what does hit the fan, everyone starts digging. Everyone starts digging. And by the way, this is true for Utah. This is true for BYU. Utah is going to have people digging into every single corner of their finances for the next 5 to 10 years. Right? BYU is going to have people, journalists who are very serious about their job, digging into timelines on knowledge of accusations of SA for years. Every time it comes up, it freshens it. And people are like, oh, I got to do a little bit more digging on this. If you're at Michigan, there's no excuse for you to, like, Ward Manuel, he's told everyone publicly since December 2025 when all this went down, I had no knowledge that Sharon Moore and this assistant, this Paige Shiver, had a relationship. I did not know that.
But then another...
That's a lie, first of all, because this investigative report, this commissioned report, Jenner and Block is the law firm that is doing this investigation. I'm picturing like a Michael Clayton kind of thing, right, where they've got like some investigator on staff who goes and he's the PI that digs up all the stuff. And they found evidence of Moore delivering, or more of Manuel delivering a note to Sharon Moore saying in 2024, saying you cannot travel with your assistant because we know that there's something going on there.
When the assistant, this alleged victim of some misconduct, she has said from her vantage point, and she says that staffers, her own sources on staff are saying, yeah, it was an open secret. Our relationship was an open secret around the program. So you have to think that now is completely validated by this new evidence that this law firm has come up with that says, yeah, he absolutely knew about it. There was already some rumor that everyone knew about it before they dug that up anyway.
Her report, her testimony was that she even went to Jim Harbaugh, and Jim Harbaugh referred her to like some counseling.
Yeah. And
tried to help her, which Jim Harbaugh's a psycho and has a bunch of weird stuff in his own, in his own closet. But apparently he was like, she came to him and he was just like, okay, let me try to get you in touch with something that can help you right now, which I guess is a good look for Jim Harbaugh because he was trying to help her allegedly. But like, again, that's the head coach being like, why at that point are you the head coach not going to your assistant and be like, dude, this is the kind of stuff we can't have. Well, I know that it's not like coaches getting into the personal lives of their assistants is something that none of them want to do. Plausible deniability is way better. A boss getting into the personal life of somebody on staff is not something any boss wants to do. But in an organization, a front-facing public organization like Michigan football, you kind of have to. Because if there's a scandal, it affects everyone. If there's a scandal, you're going to lose your job. You have to make your program scandal-proof. It's why Kyle Whittingham is the right coach. The idea, though, that you're going to hire that new coach and that staff while also letting the athletic director be the same guy that was at least partially or potentially sweeping things under the rug means that you've half fixed a problem. And you're not like the legal stuff here. It's not satisfied because everyone wants punishment when this stuff happens. Everyone wants a fall guy when this stuff happens. And so far, Ward Manuel has made sure that it was Sharon Moore who was the fall guy. It was his actions. He deserves to be the fall guy here. But there's a failure at the leadership level, and to not acknowledge that and to just pretend you get to move on, I guess winning really does solve everything, and he oversees a national championship in basketball, so they're just like, well, got to keep him around. Look at the job he's done. Well, guess what? You just lost your coach. That's your fault. Not because he got an NBA opportunity that he couldn't turn down. You're the one who chased him out.
He lost Jim Harbaugh because, of course, Harbaugh took a better NFL opportunity, right? But he also was going to be facing some pretty bad sanctions because of the cheating, the sign-stealing cheating stuff and the recruiting stuff before that. Like, this program, even before the Sharon Moore controversy, it's been in such disarray. They win a national championship in football and basketball in that time period, but it's not because things are going great and everything's in order at Michigan right now. Like it's it's a bad look for Ward Manuel, and he probably deserves to be on a really hot seat right now.
Did you watch the All-Star game?
I did on the way home.
Did you catch the Sandlot reference?
Yes, incredible moment. You know what I was thinking the whole time? It's too bad that Salt Lake City isn't the first All-Star game to have the Sandlot, because we are where Sandlot took place. Sandlot was filmed here. So
we watched the Sandlot on 4th of July. It's a great 4th of July movie.
Absolutely.
In the heat of the day when we don't want to be outside, fired it up for the girls. They had never seen it. It was fantastic. Obviously, the Major League Baseball All-Star Game, having kids on their bikes riding out onto the field and fireworks while Ray Charles sings in the background. That's the scene from Sandlot. Beautiful. Major League Baseball this All-Star weekend, this All-Star break, the Home Run Derby was awesome.
Yeah, I missed the Home Run Derby, but I heard great things.
It was awesome. Shout out to my guy Zach Kinman, produced the All-Star Home Run Derby for Netflix, the first one ever.
All right, sweet.
Yeah, it's our guy. And then, you do a little homage to the Sandlot and one of the great American movies, one of the great American baseball movies at the All-Star game. That's Major League Baseball is doing some good things right now.
And you create an opportunity for young kids who presumably love baseball to stand next to the stars of the game as they watch the fireworks, and after they rode their bikes onto the field. Like, that's an unbelievable moment. Yeah.
Will you be getting NCAA football 2027 when it is released tomorrow?
I won't. I haven't been that into video games lately, but if I were, I'd be all over it. Like, I'm not anti the franchise. I'm just not that into video games right now.
That makes sense because you are an adult with children and a real job.
Yeah, I'm not sure it would go over well with my wife. That hey, you know what? I got to spend a few hours just playing video games. I don't care if the kid needs something.
Love you, but I'm grinding on Dynasty mode right now.
Yeah.
Okay. So
I've set it aside. I set it aside before that, but definitely not a good time to get back into it.
So we talked about this yesterday. EA Sports removed microtransactions from the 27 game after a lot of backlash. There were certain athletes who didn't want to be involved if there were microtransactions in the game. There were a bunch of influencers, a bunch of these Twitch streamers that are like kind of the movers and shakers and thought shapers in the video game world who are like, this is crap, don't put this in the game. Deion Sanders, Bill Belichick, Mario Cristobal, Kirk Ferentz, not in the game. And guess who else? Guess what other coach that we know well here in the state of Utah has opted out of NCAA football 2027?
Is it Kyle Whittingham?
It's not. It's Bronco Mendenhall.
Oh, Bronco Mendenhall.
Bronco's not in the game. I want to get Bronco on the phone, James. I want to ask him why he decided not to be in the game. Deion was asked about this at Big 12 Media Days.
I remember this,
and he was just like, they're not paying enough. He actually didn't even know that he wasn't in it. It was like his people made the decision for him. He said, if I'm not in it, it means they're not paying enough.
That was one of my favorite answers from him at his media day podium appearance was that he said, I didn't know about that, but they probably didn't pay enough. My guys know that if they don't pay enough, then it's a no. Like, love that.
Players get $1,500 and the game for being in the game this year. There's other players who get more than that. I imagine like the Arch Mannings of the world are getting a little bit extra. The Dante Moores out there are probably getting a little bit extra. Your guy Jeremiah Smith, I don't imagine lets his name, image, and likeness get farmed out for $1,500 check and an advanced copy of a video game. But for the rank and file college football player, right, you're getting a $1,500 check and you're getting a downloadable copy of the premium version of the game.
I mean, that's decent for that type of player.
Look, Guys that played in my era got $0, and they couldn't put their name. Like they copied you. It was your measurables. They just went down the roster, and they were just like, okay, number 32 for Utah is a 5'11", 200-pound defensive back. Here's $0, number 32, right?
Yeah.
Now they get money.
Yeah.
I at one time was in a video game. I was in the UFC 2 video game. Got a little royalty check for that. It makes you feel cool.
More or less?
More, actually.
More than what the college players
don't have to spread it quite as thin.
Yeah.
You know, there's 10,000 college football players.
Right.
And there were like 400 UFC fighters at that time. So anyway, that's Dion, Belichick, Cristobal, Ferentz. They're not there. And equally high profile, Bronco Mendenhall. Not in the game.
Yeah, when you think of all those guys, the next guy you think of is Bronco Mendenhall.
That's exactly right. I've gone way too long on this, so we'll double up, and Jeff Schwartz will join us on the other side. It's the Sean O'Connell Show on ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. We are 7 minutes into England-Argentina, and it has already got real spicy between these two squads. England, by the way, much taller than the Argentine side. I don't know why I didn't have that on my bingo card, but they're just physically a lot bigger. We also have a Leo Messi trash-talking exchange face that is going to be memed aggressively if Argentina ends up winning this thing. So far, scoreless, 0-0, 7.5 minutes in now, and they're literally tackling one another. It's wonderful. Jeff Schwartz is kind enough to stop by to talk all things about the upcoming football seasons, college and pro. Jeff, how are you?
I am good. I watching a lot of soccer, as we all are. I'm also watching the match, not the game, the match. I gotta say, man, some of these, like the penalty yesterday, felt very punitive for what actually occurred on the play. I feel like soccer has some very rigid rules on in place. Maybe that's for player safety, but I mean, I get why it was a foul, a penalty, but like the guy wasn't going to make the shot. Like if he missed the ball and he got kicked after missing the ball, I don't know how that equates to like a 85% goal shot that their team gets.
Well, it's because it happened because of where it happened on the field.
I get why. I know it was
the wild part.
I know it was in the box. I get that, but he wasn't making the goal. He wasn't. He missed the guy who went for the ball. I think it was Yamal. He missed the ball. Like the kick had no play in him missing the ball. I don't know. It feels like some very harsh penalties sometimes in the sport.
That's like one of the only penalties where I thought that the player reaction to the impact of the actual contact was remotely appropriate, because that was like a real kick.
Oh no! I'm sure it hurt. I think that's appropriate, but I just thought it's like, wow, that's a pretty harsh punishment. My gambling partner, my podcast partner as well, Chris Felica, the Bear, he liked over 3.5 cards in this game. I think we have 0 so far, but they might have 10 at the way this game is being played.
Yeah, there's a lot of there's a lot of upper body action going on for a soccer game. Like everyone is grabbing, everyone is pulling, everyone is swinging their arms about. I love this. This is as much contact as you're going to see in a World Cup game. So, England, Argentina, 0-0, almost 10 minutes in now. Jeff, are you excited for Monster Energy Big 12 football season?
Is BYU going to have a caffeine-free patch on theirs? We still like Monster Energy caffeine. Caffeine.
Energy drinks are allowed.
They are?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't know the rules. So I wasn't quite sure.
Yeah, you know.
I could not be more excited for the Big 12 season to begin. No, I'm excited for football. I did a little bit of ACC Media Day today, filling in Charlotte. It was so nice just to like drive to the media day and just come home afterwards. So I'm like in a football mood, man. I feel like this soccer has gotten me excited for football because we're all doing this together, right? We're all watching the match together, just like we would watch football together. And I'm ready for the season. I've seen some comments from Media Day, like Colorado's coaches seem very excited for their team, which is good. Your algorithm just kind of feeds you whatever I think you're into. I don't know. I've seen a lot of Colorado content.
I obviously get a lot of Utah content fed by my algorithm, and the interesting thing for me here is that Morgan Scalley is taking over as a first-year head coach, but a lot of the expectations, including those in Vegas, are that the product is going to be pretty consistent on the field. And I think Morgan Scalley is an awesome coach and will be a great head coach. I'm less certain that, there's no hiccups in this process. And the win total set at 8.5, which is fine, given their schedule especially. I think that's probably very realistic for Utah to even expect an over on that. They're right up there with BYU, though. And BYU has a lot more returning production. And I wanted your thoughts on why, while BYU has a little bit tougher schedule, why those two teams are still considered on the same plane despite a massive amount of turnover for one school and hardly any for the other.
Well, I think that odds makers just sort of set 7.5 or 8.5 as like the number for any team they think could be good this season, right? Like 10 wins. If you go if you go to 9.5, Sean, 10's a lot of wins, man. It's a lot of wins.
I mean, it's a lot of wins. Utah had a 10-win season last year. And
so 8.5. That was including the bowl game, though, right? Or not?
11 with the bowl.
Okay. Obviously, the win totals.
They only lost in the regular season to Tech and to BYU.
Yeah, the just so people are aware, like the win totals only count regular season. They don't count conference championship games or bowl or playoff games. I mean, it feels about right. I think that BYU benefited last year from the schedule a little bit, right? We talked about that all through their season. Like, how good are they? Are they really, right? And this year's a tougher schedule. I think Utah, it's fair. The questions are just simply, everything's new, right? Everything's new at Utah. And that has people just questioning like whether they're going to be good or not this year. Right, Sean? And then that's fair. I know I've questioned that as well when you have everything new, transition year from something you've known for, 20 years to a complete unknown at head coach. There are new other pieces around the roster. Like, look, I love Jordan Gross. He's a good friend of mine, but it's his first job at the Power 4 level. Like, I think it's all going to take time to sort of see what Utah is going to be, right? I think that's a fair assessment. The talent is there. But I think it's fair to say, I don't know what they're going to be. And for BYU, again, they're just playing a much better, tougher schedule this season.
BYU, to me, it feels like the odds makers just lopped a win off the top because they're playing Notre Dame in the middle of the season. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, I would imagine so. I know people look at the Notre Dame game and think like this is the one chance Notre Dame has to lose outside of Miami. It's like I think that's going to be a game where I'm curious what the odds are going to be for that game because obviously BYU, is probably two touchdown underdog in that game at home, maybe 10 points. I'm curious what that number ends up being when they get there. I think people look at Notre Dame's schedule and sort of Miami game at home. That's a toss up, and then people look and say, oh, BYU, maybe that's the team that could beat Notre Dame.
Yeah, we'll see how that one plays out. I had a guest on yesterday who looked at the Utah schedule with me and was like, yeah, we might not know what Utah is really until Houston in like week 8. And I was chuckling about it because when you look at the schedule and you see kind of how things line up, that might be accurate. And, that is a reason for optimism, obviously, that you get a softer, more friendly schedule at the very beginning of the year to try to figure out these growing pains. Like you said, we don't know exactly what everything's going to look like. When you go back to all your years in football, I mean, how much different is the chemistry on an offensive line from week 1 to week 6? If assuming the same guys are all healthy and stuff, like how much different is the level of play from that particular unit from the beginning of the year to midseason?
Well, it's huge. Of course it is, right? It's why we see teams improve throughout the season as they get more opportunity to be with each other and do things with each other. Look, you have to sort of see every situation before you get comfortable in it as a group, right? So like week 1, you might have a play called, a protection called, and you see a certain look on the defense, right? You might not see that same look again for 4 weeks with the same play, right? And then you're like, oh, we saw this, remember? What we saw. And then it also takes time, Sean, to figure out what offense you want to be, and that plays a role in this. So I remember this very vividly. It's a fun story I like to tell because it kind of sets up what I believe when it takes new offense. So I've always believed offenses take, about 8 to 10, 12 weeks in the NFL. I should clarify, NFL to get going with a new coordinator. I'll give you an example from my playing days. We had a bye after week 9 in Kansas City. We were actually 9-0 with Andy Reid, first year in Kansas City. And our coach, Andy Heck, who's still there, offensive line coach, Andy Heck, he loved power, right? He called it God's play. Love power, all right? We have a shirt, I think, like called "Take the Bull by the Horns." That's that was like his thing. Like, I don't think he put God, but it's that's like a take the bull by the horns. God's play. It's power. Like he loved power, right? Power is like a strong double team, point of attack, guard pulls, typically a fullback or tight end kicks out. Like you can even add a third guy, power wrap, right? Like a third guy in there. Just a big old we're gonna beat you down. So after 9 weeks, we get into a team meeting to go over our efficiency numbers. 13% efficient running power up until that point this season. And we were like 50-something% efficient outside zone. So coach said, all right, no more power. We're on outside zone instead.
Wow.
Right, like, so I give Andy Reid credit for that and Andy Heck for that because offensive line coaches do most of the run game. But that tells you, like, that took 9 weeks to figure out we were running a pretty inefficient run a lot because coach liked it. So the same can apply here, right? You decide you want to run a certain type of offense, and you realize halfway through the season that doesn't really fit what we do. Or maybe you try 7, 8, 9 things on offense, and you have to sort of piece them together for the first 6 weeks, and you figure out, okay, we're going to do this. So my whole point in saying this is that it just takes time sometimes, right, Sean? So that's why I think there's a skepticism with Utah. Just you don't know what you're going to be with a new coaching staff and new players. And all around, new offensive line, right? At least the key pieces are leaving at tackle. So it just takes time. It takes time. Coaches will figure it out eventually. But, yeah, it might take the week 8 till you hit your stride.
There's a lot of excitement over something we saw integrated in spring football, these Rhino packages, where you've got effectively, a offensive line or defensive lineman-sized fullback in the game. As an offensive lineman, do you like those plays?
Who's at quarterback? Is this like a gimmick quarterback thing too?
Well, both the quarterbacks are pretty interchangeable, so I think that that you've got one of your regular guys on there.
I don't love that all the time. I mean, you know how I feel about like those quarterback runs like teams do all the time. Part of a good offense, right, is having multiplicity. And so having a couple of these plays is really good, right? Because you want to give the defense a lot to think about, more important, a lot to practice. Like sometimes coaches just roll out plays just to mess with the defense for next week, right? And the week after, just to put something on film. So you have to practice extra 5-10 minutes at practice, right? And align properly to this, especially in college with all the unbalanced formations. You can really spend a lot of time on defense trying to fit these different things. And so if you do it like as a change up, as something you do every now and then, yeah, great. But the thing with those formations, there's only a certain number of plays you can run, right? Power, right? We're talking about power, right? Power, maybe counter, maybe outside zone. There's a couple, you're a couple play action passes, move the pocket. Like there's just like 10 plays. That's it. Defenses know the 10 plays too, Sean. So I think that I like the mentality of like we're going to try to beat up our opponent, and there's certainly a time and a place for these type of formations, but it's got to be in moderation. Right? It can't end up being like I know again people love like bring in the Rhino package. I remember as a player I loved it too, but just sometimes, right? It can be a good changeup. It just can't be run a good amount. You remember back Oregon State? Who was the linebacker they had playing, the running quarterback? Remember he'd come in and was a linebacker come in and rush from 4th and 2 all the time, and you get to the back half of the season and it just wasn't as good anymore. I remember they played Oregon. Oregon stuffed them a couple of times. It's 4 plays you can run. Like good teams figure it out. So I think it's fun in doses, but you just can't make it a staple of a situation.
I forget. Who was it that they were using?
It was a tight end, wasn't it? It must have been a tight end. It was.
No, he was. You're right. He was a linebacker that they would bring over to play on the offense. He would run like wildcat packages.
Yeah, it just ran power all the time, and eventually Oregon just ran a linebacker through the backside B gap, and the play was done. It was like that. You run the same play all the time. Like the good teams are going to figure it out. It's not ingenious to figure it out. You have to figure it out, and then you have to execute it, right? So some teams can't execute it once they figure it out, but against the better teams, Utah's going to play Texas Tech. I'm not sure I love the Rhino package. Utah's playing, North, South Tech State. Great. Awesome. You know what I mean? I just think that against the better teams, those things don't work as well.
Jack Coletto is the
Jack
guy.
Coletto. There we go. Yeah.
Well, you could always count on Jeff to bring up obscure references, but it's a very specific memory for football you've got there, pal. I love it.
I do have that and trips my friends don't go on. I remember those pretty well.
I was going to save that to the end.
It's fine.
Jeff's 40th birthday was this weekend. I was fortunate enough to be on the short list of invites. My plan was to fly Sunday morning, leave here, Salt Lake City, go to the party, fly back. I was going to be gone from like 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. on a Sunday. All right, I got clearance from the wife. Yes, you never see Jeff go. I'm like, perfect. This is great. I get to the – and by the way, the party was starting at 1:30 p.m. Jeff's time. So, like, I'm landing at 1 p.m., and I have half an hour to get there, and then I'm flying back.
It's a baseball game, yeah.
It's a small window of opportunity I had, people. All right? I get to the airport. It's a beautiful, hot day in Salt Lake City. I'm just like, there's not going to be any issues here. And I get to the airport, and they're just like, oh, yeah, there was a cancellation, so our inbound flight is changed, and that means that you're now going to take off. Instead of taking off at like 8 a.m. Salt Lake time, you're going to take off at 10:30, and you're going to get there at 3:30. And I'm like, well, the party's going to be over by then.
Yes.
So I unfortunately had to text Jeff's wife, who organized this whole thing, who all of us are very terrified of. I'm like, I'm really sorry. All my plans have been foiled here. And she was very nice about it, much to my relief. And then I felt that it was okay to text Jeff and say, hey, sorry, I can't make it.
You weren't the only person who was like, I was scared of telling your wife I wasn't going to make it. So I think you, Dan Lynch, another buddy of mine were like, I hope Meredith doesn't hate me.
Well,
and,
I was worried because I'm going to see Jeff in Charlotte, and I'm going to see his wife, and I'm just like, I don't want her to come in hot and stab me or something because I missed the birthday party.
She's delaying like a day. I think we're delaying a day of going to the beach to go.
She said that, yeah.
Yeah. To go
she
to
also
PFL.
told me that, as you told me, she told me that she has her outfit picked out already for the fights.
I don't get her, but sure.
I'm so excited for it.
She's
great.
Like has this outfit picked out. I'm like, it's like the PFL. It's not like, it's and. She's like, dude, tell me we got VIP last time. Are your friends coming again? Because your friends were very helpful to learning about the fight world.
No, I invited them. They said they don't want to have to sit by you again. So
I don't know who I forget their names. I'm bad with names, but like they were very nice people and they were very helpful. If they're listening now, thank you very much. I appreciate your help. I learned a lot about UFC. They would have helped me with Conor McGregor's knee. Yeah, how disappointing it was. I was at a cigar lounge on Saturday night in Dallas, and we were like kind of just hanging out and talking, and someone's like, oh, the fight's on, put it on. And I looked at my phone. I was like, nope, it's actually already over. Yeah, don't worry about it.
Terrible. It was terrible. It was and it's wild because like it was 5 years like a 5-year layoff for him, and at least a year for some people, much longer, but at least a year of anticipation for a lot of fans that thought like he actually might get back to it, and it lasted 69 seconds. It's an unforgiving sport.
Do you think he was hurt before the fight?
I think that there was something. I don't think it was like fully blown out before the fight. Yeah. But I think there was obviously something wrong with it before the fight. It was weakened. It was compromised in some way. The way that he was walking in the warm-up kind of situation. So, but, during the actual footage of him hitting pads backstage, he was throwing that kick and he was landing on that foot. And it seemed like he had it figured out. So who knows, man? I don't think we're ever going to get a clear answer, because if he ever even indicates, hey, I was messed up going in, there's going to be lawsuits and all the crazy stuff because the betting, like the sports books, just cleaned up in that one because like 75% of the bets came in on him fight day.
Yeah. Yeah. It was. I don't know why you would wager on him. That seems just so silly. But
yeah, it seems really dumb. Anyone in the fight world could have told you don't do that, but a lot of people were doing it. Jeff Schwartz is our guest here, talking really whatever we want because that's how we do things. 26 minutes in, England-Argentina is still 0-0. Should we – you mentioned Texas Tech earlier, and obviously there was a lot of conversation about them at Big 12 Media Days last week. And, they're over-under. In one sports book I've seen, it's 11.5. Others are 10.5. And – they lost a lot last year. I mean, they lost a lot. They lost a lot this offseason, and their projected starter in Brendan Sorsby with that whole thing. And still, people look at Texas Tech, and that's supposed to be the class of the conference. Now, I'm torn on this, Jeff, because, yes, obviously their resources have helped them with an incredible roster, and their coaching staff, I think, has done a great job, or at least they did a great job last year of getting kind of mercenaries all on the same page, and they looked like a great team. This is not a blue blood who every single year, finds a way to win no matter what. We've had 1 year of great success for Texas Tech football, and now everyone's just like, yep, it's going to be this way every year. And I'm not fully convinced of that yet. Where do you stand on it?
I think you're right, Sean. Like they lost the second pick in the draft, David Bailey. They lost Romeo Height, right? Yes. Romeo Height. They lost Lee Hunter. Like they lost 3 legitimate NFL defensive linemen. Did they replace it with 3 NFL defensive linemen again?
Well, they
lost.
They think they've got a couple at least.
They lost Jacob Rodriguez, who I bet on to win Rookie of the Year for the Dolphins. Who, if you watch that defense last year, like just incredible play. Like, I don't know, man. I need to replace those guys, especially your point, like not a pipeline of young players to fill those roles that are as good right now. I'd be hesitant to crown them like a playoff team again. Is Will Hammond is he healthy yet too?
Well, they're painting a positive picture now, and I wonder how much of that is like the people here in Salt Lake City are very gun shy about being like, oh, surgically repaired knee and your quarterback coming back week 1, ready to go. Yeah, we're pretty reluctant to assume that's going to be perfect for any team, and I wonder how much of that messaging for Texas Tech is just smoke signals. Like, we don't want to let people know that we might not have him till week 4. But, I mean, that's the gamesmanship coaches play. Let's say they get him in week 4. I mean, they should be 3-0 without him.
Yeah.
They get to week 4, but, they have a relatively friendly schedule as well. Yeah. I'm not yet convinced. Like, we don't have this track record. The coaching staff doesn't have a great track record. The university doesn't have a great track record. Right. Of continued sustained success.
Right.
And we're all prisoners of these moments, and that's fine, but I'm not quite as high on them as everyone else is.
I think it's fair to have some skepticism because they haven't proven it year over year. Right? They had 1 year last year, and they lose a lot of that talent off that defense, which was their calling cards. I think it's fair to be skeptical about Texas Tech. I feel the same way. I kind of want to see what it looks like with different pieces on defense.
What about nationally? Should we also assume, hey, Indiana's going to be a top team again? Miami's going to be a top team again.
Yeah, Miami's better quarterback. They lose some defensive linemen, lose an offensive lineman in the first round, but they've recruited so well. This is why high school recruiting is so important, right? Because they're going to lose these guys. They just replace them with other blue chip type talent, right? They might not be as good immediately, but they have guys they feel comfortable with. Darren Mensah is incredible, and Tony and Fletcher's back at running back. I think Indiana won't be as good. I was talking with a buddy about this past weekend at Masterminds. Like you make your own breaks, you do, but everything went their way last year, right? It's just not going to happen in the same way probably this season. I don't know if they're as good as a team. They lost a lot of those veteran players that know Signetti very well from the JMU days, and so they're going to have the same talent. I don't know, but I think Miami is a playoff team. Certainly, I think Indiana probably is a playoff team with 12 teams. I think Notre Dame is really good. I think Oregon's good. I think Texas is good. I think those are sort of the Ohio State's going to be good. Sort of the top of the country with the players and talent.
5 years of eligibility to play 5 years.
Yeah.
If you want them. And already players that expired this last season, this last academic year, are saying, "Oh, well, look, give me another year then. If we're going to adopt this, let's do this." Like,
I mean, it's, but you have to have start somewhere. Like, you can't just. This thing about when people retroactively want to give awards or you're sorry, you're out of luck. I don't know what to tell you, man. You don't get sympathy for me who blew my red shirt to play 80 snaps. It's unfortunate, but what does everyone get to continue to play? Did we just go back and I get an extra year now?
Does Jeff Schwartz get an extra year of eligibility?
The rule has changed. This is what the rule is now. You have to accept it. You kind of got screwed. I'm sorry.
I do think that that's the only way to solve it, but the lawyers.
You need someone callous like me in charge. or Meredith. Have put Meredith in charge.
Somebody who just has no emotional context to any decision is the right person. There's like AI that's cold and calculating, and then one slight level above that is you.
Yeah. That's why my wife's even worse. She's called the Terminator at work. They just fires everyone. It's like bring her in. She'll correct college football pretty quickly.
Perfect. On the NFL front, more smoke around the Aaron Donald coming out of retirement situation. Apparently, discussions about how many games he would have to play. This is happening, right? We're getting Aaron Donald back.
I said this when Myles Garrett. I tweet out like Donald's coming back for sure. How do you know, Schwartz? I'm like, I just know football, man.
Yeah,
dude probably can't wait to come back. He can come back week 8. He'll probably come back sooner than that, but he gets to play with Myles Garrett. Here's a good experiment for you. Just if you have free time and you want to do this. When is the last defensive line to have 2 Hall of Famers starting at the same time together? Like high impact, like not like TJ Watt and Cam Hayward, which I don't know if Cam Hayward's a Hall of Famer, but TJ Watt should be. But like there's like never, like almost never since like the Purple Eaters, like maybe some old Steelers teams. Like it's not the NFL. There's very rarely do you have 2 Hall of Fame pass rushers on the same team at the same time.
So you're an offensive line coach or an offensive lineman who's got to scheme up.
Yeah, good luck.
How you block that front.
Yeah. You go empty and you throw the ball as soon as you can.
Okay.
That's what you do. You have no choice. That's your choice. You throw the ball as soon as possible. And the Rams will know that too, by the way. It's not like I'm not giving state secrets away like that. That's what I would do. I just go 5 wide and just design an offense to spread everyone out and hope you get the ball out quickly.
Does Dwight Freeney and Robert Mathis count for 2 Hall of Famers?
Yeah, I don't think Mathis could be a Hall of Famer though. Is he?
I don't know. You tell me.
That's probably the closest one that we have. I don't know if Mathis will make the Hall of Fame. Probably not. He only made 1 All-Pro team. He's got 123 sacks. Jeez, maybe he will.
Not for pass rushing purposes, but is Haloti going to be a Hall of Famer in the NFL?
No, I don't think so. I actually had a discussion with my Dave, my college roommate, was played a defensive line at Oregon, was with me in Dallas, and there was a debate about Haloti. He just didn't have the stats. I know that's maybe too simple, but he just didn't. He didn't rush the passer. Like that wasn't what he did in Baltimore. It wasn't his job, and so when you don't have that as your job, it's hard just to make you. I don't think we have one defensive tackle who's like a run stuffer as a Hall of Fame. I'm sure we do. Someone will pull up. 1953, we had I don't care. It just now you have to.
Because he played with like Terrell Suggs and those.
Yeah, Suggs and he would be. Yeah, I don't think Halotti's going to be a Hall of Famer though. I mean, you've mentioned really good defensive lines. They just don't.
Sure.
Like Aldon Smith and Justin Smith. I think neither making the Hall of Fame. Like they were together. They were like an incredible group of pass rushers. I mean, there's teams that have had good pass rushers, like Jared Allen and Kevin Williams with the Vikings. Like teams have done it, but 2 Hall of Famers of this caliber, not in modern history.
I mean, you don't have to sell me on it. It is going to be like appointment television every time. I'm very curious to see how other teams attack it, and I think your answer is probably the right one, where you're just like, get rid of the ball now. You just have to go. You just have to be really, really quick.
Oh, Messi is good, dude. It's soccer.
Oh, breaking news. Jeff Schwartz on ESPN 700. Messi good at soccer. He just got
fouled.
He just broke the news.
All right, one yellow. Yellow's out. First yellow of the game. Here we go.
Yeah, we got a card.
Someone's getting tossed from this game, I have a feeling.
Yeah, this is the kind of soccer I need to keep me engaged. All right?
Yeah.
This is what I want. Like,
yes.
Oh, yep. Push each
there
other. Somebody throw a punch. Let's go.
Oh, that's a little much.
Oh, no. Now, my question is, if England goes hard at Messi in like a dirty way,
is there an enforcer?
Does Argentina have an enforcer to retaliate?
Yeah, someone probably.
Do you though? I mean, like, because soccer.
I don't know, dude. I don't know. They're players.
Neither do I, Jeff. That's why.
Well, here's why you can't, because you can't afford a red card. Like, you can afford a player to foul out or technical foul if you're like a backup on a basketball team. You can't get a red card because then you're out the player, right? You're out the player for the rest of the game. So I would say no.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah. All right, I got a phone call, buddy.
All right, dude. Thanks for jumping on. Appreciate you.
Bye-bye.
Jeff Schwartz. He's a football expert, former NFL player.
Breaking news, Jeff Schwartz doesn't know every player on Argentina.
Wow, how could he not know them all?
He works for Fox, does he not? He's supposed to know these things.
Free kick here on a foul. It's way outside the box here for Messi. Let's see what he can do with it. 37 minutes in, and the game is still very physical, still very rough. These guys are someone's hitting the deck about every 5 seconds here in this Argentina-England game. So,
just over the crossbar.
Just over the crossbar.
Argentina shot nearly on goal. Yeah. It's chippy, and you love to see it. My favorite play, both of us smiled and chuckled at the same time. OC, you did a good job of quietly chuckling, was when the English goalie went to grab the ball because they called a foul or they called offside or whatever it was on Argentina. He went, and the Argentine player picks it up and starts to run with it to go argue with the ref, and the English keeper gives a shoulder shiver into the player and grabs the ball from him, and the player's like, "What's that about?" It's like, dude, you're holding on to the ball unnecessarily. That's what that's about. It's so good.
It's so incredible. We'll keep you updated here. A reminder also that you should join Spence Checketts at Brighton tomorrow. That's Thursday for the first round of Disc Golf Championships at Brighton Resort. PDGA Pro Major featuring the FPO division, which, of course, is the best one. Tune into the drive all week for a chance to win a 4-pack of tickets. More details available at ESPN700sports.com. It's the Sean O'Connell Show on ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. All right, what are you doing this weekend? If the answer is not playing Stansbury Park Golf Course, then you're doing it wrong. Everybody's talking about Tooele County's historic golf course. It's the perfect combo of challenge, pace, and price. If you're like me, you probably care about that. There's water on almost every hole. The greens roll true. The layout keeps you focused, keeps you fired up, and you can actually play a full round without spending your whole day out there. There's no long waits. Pace of play not as big of an issue. No overpriced green fees. It's pure golf. 18 holes are only $45 on weekdays and $50 on weekends. Right off of I-80, super easy to get to, and it's a great starting point for you to explore Tooele County. Stansbury Park Golf. Great rates, gorgeous greens, all minutes away and totally worth it. Pick your tee time now at Stansbury Park Golf. Stansburypark.gov/golf course. That's Stansburypark.gov/golf course. Sponsored by Tooele County. Big ups to all the Tooele Buffaloes out there.
And you know, it's only 30 miles back, OC. So easy to get out there and back.
And honestly, with how traffic can get in the valley sometimes, going a little bit further with less traffic, same amount of time as driving down to like Hidden Valley or something with traffic, you know?
Yeah.
We have reached the point, extra time being played. By the way, the referees are sick of it right now in England versus Argentina. A yellow card apiece now for England and Argentina. About 2 minutes apart they were issued. 11 fouls in the first half for Argentina, 7 in the first half for England. 3 minutes of stoppage time, which is, I think, the lowest I've seen so far in the World Cup.
Yeah, the hydration break was pretty short, so that must be all they're accounting for here. Is we had about a 3-minute hydration break, so that's all we got to make up here.
I like it. The referee is just like, I'm sick of these guys. We're gonna send them into halftime, and it's still 0-0 England Argentina. Playing in extra time of the first half here and only 3 minutes on the docket. We got Burnley FC coming in for a friendly against RSL tonight. That'll be a fun one because, as Jason Christ told us when he joined us earlier in the show, it's a friendly, but it's a friendly that's ramping you up for a return to actual action. You got LAFC coming up. If you can't make it out there to America First Field tonight, Royals are back in action on Saturday if you want to go see some NWSL. I can't promise it'll be as good as our experience because I don't think there's a Disney Princess drone show happening this coming Saturday. I don't think.
It sounds like that was awesome. Especially
those drone
bring
shows,
little girls to the park. Yeah.
Those drone shows are actually dope. I've always been like a fireworks traditionalist. I enjoy a good firework, you know. You feel patriotic watching those things. Some very fond memories of my own childhood, like going and getting fireworks, lighting fireworks, that kind of stuff. But the drone shows are pretty incredible.
They've gotten really good. Yeah.
All right. To make sure we can get a decent amount of crosstalk in, let's take a break here. Sean O'Connell Show wrapping up next on ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. All right, we're officially at halftime of England versus Argentina, and so far, this thing has lived up to the heated rivalry kind of a situation. We tried to give you some context of why these two nations have so much venom and vitriol toward one another on the soccer pitch, and this one's been building for more than 2 decades since the last time they played each other in a high-stakes match. It has been chippy, to say the least. And I for one enjoy that. I'm here for it. Look at that watch party in Buenos Aires. Holy cow. Fox has done a great job of bringing in like the local imagery of people in the home countries watching what they see. Really good stuff so far, even though it is scoreless. James, when we're talking about a game like basketball, a game like soccer, baseball is kind of like, it's kind of hard to play dirty baseball unless the pitchers start throwing at people. But I like a chippy game, even if it makes the play a little bit uglier, a little bit sloppier. I know that like a soccer purist, a basketball purist might not feel that way about it. How do you feel? Where do you fall on that spectrum?
I like, as far as basketball goes, I like the chippiness more in a playoff game than I do in a regular season game, but there's exceptions to that. Like late in the season, this is a potential finals or conference finals preview, maybe an NBA Cup game, because we know how important the NBA Cup is.
It matters.
Now.
It just matters more.
Yeah.
Wait, that's the SEC. Sorry.
Say that tongue in cheek, but like you like those games in the regular season to be chippy. But yeah, a chippy game with some stakes to it, especially in any sport, fantastic. And I would probably agree with your thought. There's Messi with his meme face there, and like, oh yeah, sure, nodding his head. That stuff. There's nothing better when there's a high stakes game and you can just tell the teams both want to win so badly that they don't care about being nice to the other players. Like, you are wearing a different jersey, so I'm going to run over you in a way that the rules allow, and maybe sometimes in a way that the rules don't allow. I'm willing to take the card in soccer. I'm willing to get the technical foul in basketball. Willing to take the flagrant foul because I need to send a message every once in a while, or I'm that frustrated because I want to win this badly.
I will applaud so far the refereeing in this game because it has been as contact heavy, as chippy, as heated as we have seen so far in the World Cup. And it wasn't until the end of the first half that we got cards coming out. And it's one apiece for England and for Argentina. Now they're probably going to have to worry a little bit more about some of this because you don't want to get your second yellow, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
But they've kind of let him play a little bit, and I like that.
There's Bellingham apparently made a same kind of face Messi did. We missed that part.
I'm really curious, and Bellingham has been awesome. Kane has been awesome for England. Obviously, Leo Messi has been just like otherworldly in this World Cup. His legend and his legacy are intact no matter what happens here, but if he could layer on top, because if he could layer on top of what he's already done, it would be really fascinating because he hasn't dominated England so far in his career, which would just endear him even more to the Argentine fan base, who, if you were listening at the beginning of the show, they cannot stand England going all the way back to the 1960s and heating up even more in the 1980s, the hand of God goal, et cetera, et cetera.
And even in a geopolitical, as you taught us all, OC.
Yeah.
In a geopolitical standpoint, it's going back even longer than that with the Falkland Islands off of Argentina that England decided those are ours.
Yes.
And the Argentines are like, no, they're not.
Well, my favorite part, you know how we talk about this all the time, where when Utah and BYU were in the Mountain West Conference, everybody in the Mountain West Conference hated BYU, right? Wyoming felt like BYU was their rival. Colorado State felt like BYU was a rival. UNLV, New Mexico, all of these teams were just like, oh, BYU. And BYU would come in and just be like, what are you guys mad about? You're not our rival. Shut up. That's how England treats this, it seems. Like, not today, but when reading the articles and watching some of the stuff on the rabbit hole I went down last night, like these Argentine players are talking about how you have to beat England. England has done us a grave wrong. And England was just like, no, you guys cheated in the hand of God game. You guys did the thing wrong. And the Argentine players are like, what about the Falkland Islands? And the English are just like, yeah, what about the Falkland Islands? We barely learned about that. Big-time fan of England, Spence Checketts is here for the drive. Crosstalk brought to you by friends at Advanced Window Products, 801-850-9100 for $2,500 off 10 windows or more. Hi.
I don't know if you can tell by looking at me, but we're all from England. Everyone. My mom's got a little Scandinavian situation in the Leishman background, but all the Checketts, we're all like Jordan Pickford looks like he could be my cousin.
Okay.
So, yeah, when the United States are beaten inevitably, God save the Queen. 3 Lions. I'm
king
backing
right
him.
now. He's a king.
Well,
now.
I mean, historically speaking, it's the Queen, and that's what you kind of go with.
Well,
even though currently it's the king.
The king.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Historically speaking, the song is called "God Save the Queen."
All right. Were you already deeply aware of the England versus Argentina before this matchup?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, mostly from the soccer standpoint.
Yeah.
The geopolitical climate.
You don't have
Falklands
you don't have a
Islands.
take one way or another on who should be the sovereign ruler of the Falkland Islands?
The Brits, obviously.
Well,
Yeah, there's no doubt.
yeah,
Argentinians are racist divers, dude.
They're 300 miles away from Argentina and 8,000 miles away from the UK. So
Yeah, get a better army. Sorry. It's in your backyard and you can't hold on to it. That's not our problem. I mean,
that is the colonialist mindset to a T. And you know what? I can't dispute it.
I mean, you couldn't hold on to us.
Yeah.
Right?
Fair.
So
Fair.
no, I mean, maybe it's my ancestors, but I've always, if you're going to cheer for the U.S. men's national team, you have to have a backup because we're never winning the thing.
Yeah.
Do you have a backup?
Well, my backup was being correct.
Oh, who did you pick?
I picked France.
Yeah, so did I.
And so now that I'm not, I guess my backup is kind of Argentina.
Well, I may have placed a small friendly wager on Argentina.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I placed 2 small for entertainment purposes only.
Yeah, of course.
One on Argentina, one on France.
All right.
2 like long shots, one on Morocco, one on the U.S.
Ooh.
So Argentina is the only one left standing.
All right.
So that part of me is like, come on, Messi. The fact of the matter is, you can't dislike Lionel Messi, but the rest of the team isn't very likable.
I don't even know if Messi's all that likable.
Well, I mean, it's kind of like, I don't think LeBron's very likable, but can you really argue that he's not the best player of this generation?
I think that there's something in me that won't let me like the guy that everyone else likes.
Jordan.
Right.
Did you like Michael Jordan?
No.
You never liked Michael Jordan?
No. Hated Michael Jordan.
Well, that's right. You were a Knicks fan when you were a kid.
Yeah, I was a Knicks fan when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And then it was like Knicks and Jazz.
Yeah.
So it's like you can't like Michael Jordan. Hated Michael Jordan.
What about let's see, Peyton Manning?
Yeah, no.
You weren't a Peyton guy?
No.
Joe Montana.
Now Joe Montana, I'm a Niners guy, so
Oh, that's right. You are a Niners guy.
yeah, Joe Montana's like, when my grandmother was indoctrinating me to be a Niners fan in my early childhood, it was Joe Montana. So
Derek Jeter.
No. Yankees in general.
Careful.
What?
He is a deity.
He's a biracial angel,
Derek
as they say in
Jeter.
the other guys.
Derek Jeter is my all-time favorite athlete, probably.
Really?
Yeah.
Just because of his starting lineup, or why?
No, just he was like Mr. Yankee when the Yankees were awesome during the 90s when I started going to Yankee games every year. Then that was my team.
Flex.
Yeah, not a big deal.
Yeah.
4 World Series, I think, in 5 years? Not a big deal.
Yeah. No,
what about respect for Messi and Jordan?
No, ton of like admiration for who they are as competitors, like being that level of just like I will kill you on the field of competition is really fascinating. And Messi especially because like he's half the size of some of these elite guys.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? He's like on that front an underdog. But once you get to this level of just like godlike status in any sport, I think there's just something about me that has to be like, I got to find someone else Otherwise, we're just going along with the crowd here.
Who's the greatest MMA fighter of all time? Is it John Jones?
And he's so unlikable, so it makes it easy.
I was going to say, he doesn't do himself any favors.
Yeah, he's like incredibly unlikable.
Yeah, and Messi at 39. That's why I was asking you about McGregor. I always find it interesting, like, why are these dudes? First of all, you have to be awesome. But McGregor hasn't been awesome in a long time, but he still just moves the needle for some reason.
Yeah, I think that, and, for a very different reason than, like, Leo Messi, because Leo Messi says nothing.
Right.
And just goes out and is brilliance on display that even if you're not a soccer guy, you're just like, whoa, why does he move differently than everyone else? Yeah. Why is his, like, vision that much better than anyone else's? You don't really know.
Right.
McGregor there's like a theatrical element to it. And for him, he also delivered. He would say he was going to do something and then he would do it.
Yeah.
Which you're not supposed to be able to do in combat sports.
Yeah.
The last time we saw somebody do that was Muhammad Ali, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where he would talk the talk and then he would walk the walk. And everyone who wanted to watch him to see him lose just eventually came around to the fact that he wasn't going to.
What was McGregor's like, okay, welcome to the holy smokes, he really is that guy fight?
I mean, for me, like when he won the title against Jose Aldo, who at the time was a freak, was like the best in the weight class historically, and maybe still goes down as the best featherweight of all time for some people, and, was a dominant force. And McGregor finally got the opportunity. And he told everyone, I'm going to knock him out. And everyone's like, you might beat him, but you're not going to knock him out.
Yeah.
He's like, nope. Like, accuracy is what matters. I am accurate. He is not. Watch what happens. And he knocked him out in 12 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
It was a one-punch knockout against one of the best fighters ever.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just like, oh, okay, this guy's something.
Yeah. And then it becomes undeniable.
Yeah.
And then the longevity piece, I think, is not like – When Messi signed to play in MLS, everyone in the global soccer ecosystem was like, well, okay, I guess that's it for him.
Yeah.
Then he won a World Cup, and now he might go to another final.
He has scored more goals after age 35 in the World Cup than he did before 35.
That's wild.
In the World Cup.
And a sport like this, where they're running 10 miles.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's wild.
This is his 6th World Cup that he's playing in, and his last 2 have been better than the first 4.
Yeah.
That's bananas.
Did I hear you say on the way in you were enjoying watching this first half?
Yes.
I thought it was brutal, dude.
I love it.
No flow at all.
Exactly.
You want that.
Let them fall all over the place and get mad at each other. I mean, if that's all you're seeing for the entire tournament, no.
Yeah.
But I saw plenty of beautiful passing and movement yesterday between Spain and France. I want to see if either of these nations in a game like this one can actually come out and score a goal and win, or if they're just going to tackle each other until it's 0-0 at the end.
I know you didn't have the sound on because you're obviously doing a radio show. And, of course, as you outlined, the backdrop to these countries hating each other, not just the teams hating each other. But John Strong and Stu Holden were like, this is what we were expecting. Like, this is exactly what we thought. Keep it in the back, maybe play direct, get lucky on a long ball. And we'll see if it opens up in the second half, but I wouldn't mind if they hit the 2.5 goal over.
Why? Why are you interested in that?
Well, it was a really small percentage that they would, and so it just felt like it made sense to maybe, for entertainment purposes only, just entertain that option.
Got it.
Yeah.
All right. Stay tuned for The Drive with Spence Checketts. Thanks for listening to the Sean O'Connell Show. We'll do it again tomorrow on ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM.